Chapter 572. What's going on? Lin Shin suddenly realized something. When the 9 types of apocalypse battle bodies were activated at the same time, there was a faint sign that they were fusing. Lin Shun had never felt this before entering the Shura Palace of 100 Emperors. The only time was when he was in the Shura's origin cauldron pool, when the 9 elements exceeded 21,000 points. Lin Shin had reached his limit and was in a critical situation. After being rescued from the cauldron pool, Lin Shin had forgotten about it. They're fusing. My 9 types of apocalypse battle chi have all fused. Lin Shin's pupils shrank. He could feel that the 9 types of apocalypse battle chi in his body were rapidly disappearing as he activated the 9 types of apocalypse battle bodies at the same time. Let's see where you can run to this time. The blood saber spun rapidly above Long Chi's head. When the special bloodline in his body was activated, the blood saber seemed to have a mind of its own, and 10 bloody rays flashed across the sky. 10 dragons devour the heavens and earth. The bloody rays twisted and turned into a giant creature with the head of a qilin, the tail of a carp, the horns of a deer, and long whiskers on its face. It was 10 blood dragons. The 10,000-foot-long blood dragons attacked Lin Shun from 2 different directions, not giving him any room to retreat at all. At this time, Lin Shun was excited. He gathered the combination of the 9 kinds of heavenly tribulation battle chis, where all the battle chis had disappeared, in his palm. The ball of light was like a rising star, flowing with 9-colored brilliance. It was a destructive wave that had never been seen before. It was like a star shining with 9 colors, held in Lin Chen's palm. Ha! Long Chi, King, try this. Lin Shun laughed excitedly and threw the 9-colored star in his hand at Long Chi. What was more terrifying was that Lin Shun had enchanted the 9-colored star with charge and penetration runes. The 9-colored star was like a shooting star that streaked across the sky. It was extremely fast and collided head-on with the menacing blood dragon that was tens of thousands of feet long. The expressions of the battle emperors who were watching the battle suddenly changed. The exchange of blows between the 2 of them was simply a matter of life and death. All the battle emperors unleashed their ultimate movement techniques and retreated to the edge of the sealed space, as if they were fleeing for their lives. Boom! The blood dragon shattered, and the star exploded. Even on the other side of the battlefield, Long Kuan and the other 2 5th-level combat emperors couldn't help but be shocked. The 2 men and 1 dragon stopped fighting at the same time and retreated to the side. This Lin Shun brat is only at the middle stage of level 2, yet he can unleash an attack of this level. The huge dragon body shuddered, and Long Kuan subconsciously condensed his dragon breath to defend himself, which transformed into a green dragon armor. Even the 10,000-year profound azure dragon, which was known to have the strongest defense, was scared out of its wits. It could be seen just how terrifying Lin Chen's 9-colored star was. The explosion of the blood dragon sent shockwaves of blood-colored energy into the sky. Even the battle emperors were shocked by it. However, what made everyone's scalps go numb was the 9-colored pillar of light that bloomed between heaven and earth. The center of the light pillar was overflowing with world-destroying energy fluctuations. Oh my god, what kind of combat skill is this? Is this an attack that a 2nd-level combat emperor can unleash? If we are sucked into that light pillar, I'm afraid all of us will die. Many combat emperors were trembling. They wouldn't believe that Lin Shun was a 2nd-level combat emperor, even if they were beaten to death. The purple phoenix wings flapped, and a figure covered in blood retreated from the bloody storm. His whole body was surrounded by golden and silver light. It was Lin Shun. If it wasn't for the 7th-grade gold-threaded silver emperor armor, Lin Shun would have been crippled even if he didn't die from the aftershock. Looking at the 9-colored pillar of light that bloomed between heaven and earth, Lin Shin's expression became excited. What kind of abnormal power is this? This should be the true power of the 9 tribulations combat body condensed from the 9 tribulations of creation. This is a combat skill that belongs only to me. It was born from 9 types of heavenly tribulations, and it is also a combat skill that I, Lin Shun, created by myself. This move shall be called the 9 Tribulation Star. Even though this move, 9 Tribulation Star, had exhausted all of his battle chi in one go, this power was worth it. Ultimate Restoration. After consuming another 13,500 talent points, Lin Shun activated Ultimate Restoration. When his battle chi was replenished, his expression changed slightly. The battle chi fate wheel at his heart dimmed a little. It didn't recover because of the replenishment of battle chi. I lost a part of my 9 Tribulations origin battle chi. It's because of the 9 Tribulation Star. Ultimate Restoration could restore Lin Chen's battle chi, physical shell fatigue, weak state, exhausted mental strength, and so on. However, it didn't restore the battle chi origin. This was the origin of battle chi. If it was substantially damaged, it would damage one's cultivation and cause serious injuries. If it was serious, the battle chi origin would be destroyed and one would die on the spot. According to my cultivation and state, this move can only be used once in a short period of time. It will take several days or even 10 days of rest to recover. If I use it twice, my cultivation might regress and my battle chi will backfire. As for the third time, I don't know what will happen. Lin Shun was drenched in cold sweat. He had almost used 9 Tribulation Star again, just now. If he used it a second time, he was afraid that he would be severely injured and his cultivation would regress. Sure enough, this kind of killing weapon can't be used without a price. It can only be used as my last life-saving trump card. Many thoughts surged in his mind. Lin Shun turned to look at the slowly fading 9-colored light pillar again. The last scene that appeared made everyone's scalp tingle. Long Chi's blood saber, which was a mid-grade 7th rank weapon, was already broken by 50%. Long Chi himself was dripping with blood. The flesh on the right side of his face was charred black, his right eye was blind, his left leg was missing, his right arm was broken, and the flesh on his right shoulder had evaporated, revealing the green, jade-like bones of the Combat Emperor. It was a shocking sight. In Lin Chen's eyes, other than Long Chi's broken body, there were also attribute light balls in the sky. He stared at Lin Shun with resentment and hatred. It was a hatred that couldn't be washed away even if the 3 rivers and 4 seas were poured into it. Miserable. It was too horrible to look at. A late-stage 5th rank combat emperor, who was all-powerful in the 2nd main city, was an overlord in the 3rd and 4th main cities, was actually forced to such a state by a young junior. Even if this kind of injury was cured, he would still be in a half-crippled state. It was almost impossible for him to advance to the 6th rank combat emperor in this lifetime. Rumble. Terrifying facts seemed to come one after another. 2 earth-shattering explosions resounded. The mountains and rivers outside the 9 Azura tombs were completely destroyed and turned into ruins. Of the 5 figures in the sky, only 2 were left. The yellow-robed fatty and the white-robed sword emperor were still fighting. The remaining 3 had all fallen. Emperor slaying consecutively. Moreover, it was a late-stage 3rd rank and 2 early-stage 4th rank. However, the 2 clones had also fallen. In the battle to the death, they had completely perished together with the opponent. However, the corner of Lin Chen's mouth slightly curled up. It was just a clone. As long as there was enough rune energy, he could use it again in a matter of minutes. The dragon scales on the Dragon Emperor's body cracked. As he twisted his dragon body, he flew across the sky and retrieved Lin Chen's battle weapon, the storage rings of the 2 battle emperors, their bodies, and most importantly, the hundreds of elemental light balls. All of them were absorbed into the Dragon Emperor's body. Chapter 573. Lin Chen's attributes soared crazily after the huge amount of attribute light balls were taken away. Most of your helpers are dead. Lin Chen turned around and looked at Long Chi, who was staring at him with hatred. Long Chi gritted his teeth. So what if they're dead? Your doppelganger was destroyed too. You can't possibly use that kind of doppelganger technique a second time in such a short time. Boom! Boom! Before Long Chi could finish his sentence, two purple lights descended, and two doppelgangers that looked exactly like Lin Shun appeared again. The doppelgangers did the same thing as Lin Shun. They placed their palms beside their ears and asked Long Qi loudly, "What did you say?" "The wind was too strong. I didn't hear you clearly." All the battle emperors who were watching the battle were petrified. My God, how can we continue fighting like this? Such a powerful and perverted doppelganger technique was actually used so casually. Looking at the kid's appearance, he was doing it with ease. He didn't look like he was burdened at all. There was really no way to fight like this. When the yellow-robed fatty saw this scene from the corner of his eyes, his mouth twitched, and he turned around. Run. He only had one thought in his mind now, and that was to run for his life. There was no way to fight like this. The strength of that kid's doppelganger was already in front of him. As long as he relied on his doppelganger to continue fighting, he would be able to exhaust them to death. Only the white-robed sword emperor was fully focused on the battle. He suppressed Lin Chen's doppelganger to the point that it was covered in injuries. The Elysian moon heavenly clear saber was pushed back again and again. The sword emperor's temperament was the most terrifying among all the combat emperors. Once they made a move, they would not think that they could turn back. Even if it was a hopeless situation, they would still fight till the end. The other doppelganger did not chase after the yellow-robed fatty. Instead, he pulled the Myriad Star Thunder Fury bow and supported Lin Chen's fourth doppelganger. 2 against 1, against the white-robed sword emperor. It seems that this little guy has been taken care of. I just need to stall these two humans. Long Kuan was secretly shocked. His impression of Lin Chun had changed again. Seeing Long Kuan's ferocious attack, the gray-robed elder and the green-robed battle emperor both had the intention to retreat. After Lin Chun had unleashed the 9 Tribulation Star, he had once again effortlessly used that doppelganger supreme technique. Everyone knew the trend of this battle. Lin Chun, even if I die today, I will drag you down with me. Long Qi, who had completely gone mad, roared as he pounced towards Lin Chun. He used his only remaining arm to grab his blade and attack. Die? Don't worry from now on. Your opponent is no longer me, but them. Lin Chun threw the 5 Dragons Imperial Spear to his doppelganger and activated Ultimate Moment at the same time. A spear and a sword shot toward Dragon Qi. Although the doppelganger did not have the purple phoenix wings, its movement technique was still impressive. Most importantly, it was 2 against 1. If Long Qi was at his peak, it might be very strenuous, but right now he was only a heavily injured body at the end of his road. Azure Dragon Possession. The Dragon Emperor turned into a ray of light and possessed the doppelganger, holding the 5 Dragons Imperial Spear. At this time, the Dragon Emperor had opened 360,000 dragon veins, and it was still rising. His pure strength was 3.6 million dragon points. With the Dragon Emperor's pure strength, Lin Chen's doppelganger was unstoppable. Long Qi wanted to break through the pincer attack of the 2 doppelganger to fight Lin Chen's main body, but he could not do so. He was completely entangled in the battle. Sword Emperor, right? I want to see how arrogant you are. If you want to kill me, then be prepared to be killed. Lin Chen's main body was not idle at all. He continued to use his talent points to maintain the ultimate moment. The 8 types of tribulation battle Qi circulated, and the dragon force erupted. He pointed out with his finger. Penetration and charging runes were activated. The 8-colored desolate energy condensed into an energy finger tens of thousands of feet long and fell from the sky. The white-robed sword emperor was shocked. Stepping on 3,000 intertwining sword lights, his figure was like a flash of light as he flashed to the other side. Sluggish Rune. A 5th-grade sluggish rune with 50,000 points of rune energy was shot out. The space around the white-robed sword emperor suddenly froze, catching him completely off guard. In the previous battle, Lin Chun did not use this trump card, the sluggish rune. Therefore, they did not know that he had this trump card. Because he had just left the Azura tomb, Lin Chen's rune energy was limited. Most of it was used for charging, penetration, and doppelganger runes. But after killing 3 battle emperors, it was completely different. His rune energy broke through 280,000 points. This sluggish rune caught the white-robed Sword Emperor off guard. Before he could react, the 8 desolate finger and the 2 doppelgangers' full-strength attacks had already arrived. Pung, pung, pung. 3 world-destroying energy fluctuations stirred up a monstrous storm. The white-robed Sword Emperor's aura was like a kite with a broken string. Fallen. All the battle emperors could feel that this Sword Emperor, whose battle strength was close to the late 4th stage, had fallen. After all, this was the full-strength attack of Lin Shun and the 2 doppelganger. If the white-robed Sword Emperor had faced it head-on, he would not have fallen even if he did not receive it completely. But with the sluggish rune in his body, he was caught off guard by Lin Shen's 3 full-strength killing moves. Just the power of the penetration rune alone had penetrated his body by 60%. It would be difficult for him to not die. Lin Shen's 2 doppelganger acted as if this was a matter of course. Without turning back, they rushed toward the yellow-robed fatty who was trying to escape to the edge of the space seal. The yellow-robed fatty's expression changed greatly. His strength was not comparable to the white-robed Sword Emperor. In less than 20 breaths of time, Lin Shun cooperated with the 2 doppelganger and used the sluggish rune to kill the yellow-robed fatty. Long Qi, now was the time of your death. Lin Shun suddenly turned around. Long Qi's expression changed greatly. 5 battle emperors, all of them had fallen. Sluggish rune, 8 desolate finger, blazing cyan moon slash. Eternal night, adjudication. Battle emperor 65 style. Azura soul rending. Dark shadow, thunder army. Lin Shun and the 4 doppelganger attacked with all their strength. They even used a level 5 sluggish rune with 70,000 runes energy points. Bang! The space within 10,000 miles was turned into a vacuum zone by Lin Shun. The full strength attack of the main body and the 4 doppelganger. With that kind of power, unless Long Qi was at his peak, he would not be able to block it, not to mention the restriction of the crippled body and the sluggish rune. Host has killed a late 5th level battle emperor. Congratulations to the host for triggering a special reward. You have received an orange crystal treasure chest. An orange light pillar suddenly bloomed in the direction of Long Qi. The entire treasure chest was filled with orange crystals. It was gorgeous and dazzling as it floated in the air. Within that dazzling light, there were many secrets hidden, as if there were some treasures hidden within the treasure chest. Lin Shun opened his mouth wide. Orange crystal treasure chest. He had never received a treasure chest of this level before. Chapter 574. When the battle Qi's storm dissipated, only half of Long Qi's body was left. The Dragon Emperor pounced and swallowed the Emperor's body. No matter how small Mosquito was, it was still meat. Lin Shun and his clones spread out and collected a large amount of attribute light balls scattered in the sky. Some of the attribute light balls were the size of ping-pong balls, some were the size of goose eggs, and some were the size of watermelons. Colorful lights filled the sky. There were at least thousands of attribute light balls, and each of them was of high quality. These were left behind by 2 mid-stage 4th level combat emperors and 1 late-stage 5th level combat emperor. Lin Shun impatiently rushed towards the orange light pillar and opened the orange crystal treasure chest that he had seen for the first time. Orange crystal treasure chest opened. Host receives, one-time use, orange grade talent, God Slayer. Lin Shun froze on the spot. A complete God Slayer. It wasn't a fragment, but a complete talent. This was the only orange grade talent that Lin Shun could use in the current version. The 3rd God Slayer. The strongest group challenge talent in history. Ha! Awesome, awesome. Purple grade Monarch's Descent. Orange grade God Slayer. Lin Shun couldn't suppress the ecstasy in his heart as he laughed wildly. Hearing Lin Shun's arrogant laughter, all the combat emperors who retreated to the edge of the sealed space felt their scalps tingle. Monster. He was a F** king monster. He killed 6 combat emperors in one battle. 4 of them were at least 4th-level combat emperors and 1 late-stage 5th-level combat emperor. This lineup was a powerful one even in the 5th main city of the Firmament Tower, but they were wiped out by a 2nd-level combat emperor. Even a King storyteller wouldn't dare to brag like this. Hearing the laughter, the combat emperors felt their hair stand on end. Killing combat emperors was like slaughtering pigs. How could he be so happy after killing them? This was an unparalleled demon king who was both a demon and a demon. Now, Lin Shun had Monarch's Descent and God Slayer, 2 heaven-defying talents. As long as there were enough people, he could fight a group of 5th-level combat emperors. With these 2 talents, the day I return to the spiritual state is not far away. Sister Royan, you have to be safe. Lin Shun removed the 6-fold transformation and felt weak inside. However, his fate wheel of battle chi was spinning faster and faster. The reason was none other than the fact that the 4 clones were frantically collecting the attribute light balls. All sorts of attributes poured into Lin Chen's body. Obtained 37,500 battle chi essence, 59,000 battle chi essence, 210 points of mental energy, 18,000 points of rune energy, 21,000 points of chi and blood energy, 450 points of water energy, 500 points of dark energy, 13,400 talent points, obtained 18 cultivation method attribute light balls, 16 purple grade secret manuals, 2 purple grade, mid-grade, low-grade secret manuals. Opened 8 purple crystal treasure chests. Obtained 100,000 heavenly Tao points, 50,000 runic energy points, 5 runic evolution stones, 100,000 talent points. The 9-color light of his battle chi wheel was especially dazzling. Lin Chen almost entered the late stage of LV1. The battle aura essence he had gained from this battle was simply too high. At this moment, the spatial seal was suddenly removed. It was the 2 5th-level combat emperors who had forcefully removed it. Rumble. The gray-robed elder and the green-robed combat emperor didn't care about anything else. They consumed a huge amount of battle chi to remove the spatial seal. They had no choice but to run. If they waited for Lin Qinkong to make his move, the 5 combat emperors and Long Qi would all be killed by him. At that time, if his clone and the primordial azure dragon joined forces, the 2 of them would most likely die here. Seeing that Long Kun was about to chase after them, Lin Shun waved his hand and said with a smile, "Brother Kun, let's not chase after them. Let's go and pick the weaker ones." As soon as his voice faded, Lin Shun and his 4 clones dashed towards a group of combat emperors who hadn't managed to escape yet. All the combat emperors' expressions changed. "It's over. It's really over. This monster still wants to attack us." The 10 combat emperors fled in 10 different directions. Sabers and swords swept across the void. Arrows and spears slashed down, and 2 azure dragon emperors with purple phoenix wings appeared in the sky. Lin Shun and his 4 clones, as well as the dragon emperor and Long Kun, stopped the 10 combat emperors. "Lin Shun, what are you trying to do?" A middle 4th-level combat emperor scolded fiercely. He was the one with the highest cultivation base among all the combat emperors present. Among the remaining 9 combat emperors, 6 of them were late 3rd-level combat emperors, and the other 2 were early 4th-level combat emperors. This lineup seemed strong, but if they were to face Lin Shun, the unparalleled Devil King, with the primordial green dragon eyeing them covetously beside him, if they weren't careful, less than 2 of them would be able to leave this place alive. They might even be wiped out. What do you think I'm going to do? Do you think I'm going to kill you? I, Lin Shun, am here to rob you. Hand over all of your belongings or die." Lin Shun smiled viciously. The combat emperors were so shocked that their hearts skipped a beat. The ominous feeling they had in their hearts was completely confirmed. If it was any other expert, they wouldn't need to be so afraid. At most, they would just have to fight to the death. The problem was that this brat's cloning technique was King awesome. From the battle, just now, they could tell that his clones weren't afraid of death at all. Furthermore, they possessed strength that was not inferior to the main body. This completely confirmed the saying, If you fight with your life on the line, you will only be able to exchange for a clone of the other party. There was no way to fight. There was no way to fight at all. All the combat emperors were very clear that even if they fought with their lives on the line, they would only die in exchange. It would be very difficult for them to even perish together. The other party didn't even need to fight with them. The main body leaned to the side, and with a few clones and Long Kuan, whether or not they could break through the battle circle was still a problem. Two black-robed old men stepped out and said with a fake smile, "Lin Shun, you can't be too ruthless. In this firmament tower, you must always leave a way out. Leave a way out your head." Lin Shun and his two clones slapped their faces. When the energy between their 5 fingers surged, they directly slapped the two old men's faces. The two old men were flustered and exasperated. The two clones stepped out from the side and stared at the two old men who were about to make a move. Immediately, their killing intent was suppressed. They couldn't help but recall that just a moment ago, 5 combat emperors had already died in the hands of this young man's clones, directly slapping their faces. Decisive and straightforward. Lin Chen's position was clear. He didn't need to give them any face. Leave a way out? This sentence is reserved for people with strength. Do you have the strength? If you all collectively break through to the 5th level combat emperor, I will immediately turn around. Don't talk about leaving a way out. I'll even burn incense for you all. Lin Shun spoke like an old man, completely like a villain. Now, these guys were just lambs waiting to be slaughtered in his eyes. If he didn't slaughter them, why would he let them live for the new year? Furthermore, they were waiting here for no other reason than to attack him. Naturally, their intentions were self-evident. If Lin Shun wasn't strong enough and couldn't escape unscathed after killing Long Qi, or if Long Kuan couldn't delay the 2 5th-level combat emperors at that time, these old foxes would immediately transform into wolves, tigers, and leopards to ambush and kill him. The one who would die would be Lin Shun. To Lin Shun, who never intended to be a kind person, if he showed mercy to these kinds of people, then he wouldn't be able to survive. Chapter 575. Motherf ****. Still not handing it over? Brother Kuan, let's beat the crap out of them. Lin Shun rolled up his sleeves, and Long Kuan was about to wave his claws. The 10 combat emperors' expressions finally changed from struggle to fear and submission. Someone immediately waved his hand and said, "Sir Lin Shun, please have mercy. I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over too. I still have tens of thousands of years of lifespan left. Forget about money. Just take my life." The combat emperors succumbed one after another. It wasn't that they didn't have a backbone, but they didn't want to lose their lives in vain. What kind of people could become combat emperors? They were all people with top-notch talent, luck, and temperament. They were experts who had gone through countless life and death situations. If there was a chance, they would definitely fight until the end. However, Lin Shen's phantom doppelganger made them feel what it meant to fight with their lives in vain. Since that was the case, they might as well hand over their storage rings and see if they could survive. The other combat emperors were watching quietly. If the combat emperors who handed over their storage rings couldn't leave and Lin Shun went back on his words, they would definitely fight to the death. The first late 3rd-level combat emperor from city number 3 obediently handed over his storage ring and the 7th-grade low-grade defensive artifact. Lin Shun patted his shoulder, consumed 6,000 talent points, used divine stealing omen, received 40,000 heavenly Dao points. You're quite sincere. Let's go. Next. Lin Shun waved his hand. That combat emperor was shocked and doubtful. Was this kid really going to let him go just like that? After that combat emperor fled into the void, Lin Shun still didn't show any reaction. Everyone secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like this person was still a man of his words. The next scene was quite comical. These battle emperors who had left the firmament tower and were still awe-inspiring in the outside world of the 9 regions were now like little dogs that didn't dare to bark loudly. They silently placed their wealth in front of Lin Shun and then left in a hurry. Even those who were tough at the beginning had no choice but to bow their heads in the end. With this wave, Lin Shen's net worth had multiplied by who knows how many times. On top of that, Lin Shen had used the stealing omen on every battle emperor that was robbed. He stole a few more waves of attribute points. How wonderful all the wealth of the 16 battle emperors had been plundered by him. Lin Shen did not have the time to count how many firmament coins he had. He only took out the treasures that were useful to the Dragon Emperor and Long Kuan and shared some with Long Kuan. The ferocious beast's body was tyrannical and had no problem swallowing high-grade herbs and spiritual treasures directly. After swallowing a large amount of natural treasures, Long Kuan's strength had improved slightly. This kind of increase in strength that could not be felt even in 10,000 years caused Long Kuan to almost cry. As for the Dragon Emperor, he did not disappoint Lin Shen. After devouring the 16 Battle Emperor's vicious beast cores and 7th grade treasures, as well as the bodies of the Battle Emperors, the 400,000 dragon veins were finally connected, reaching 4 million dragon points. His battle prowess was close to the late stage of the 4th rank. During this period of time, Lin Shen and Long Kuan were rushing towards main city number 3. However, before going to main city number 3, Lin Shen had to fill his stomach first. As a native of Earth, no matter how high his cultivation was, Lin Shen still had a strong appetite. Especially when he was trapped in the Azura tomb, it almost drove him crazy. Lin Shen arrived at the junction of main city number 2 and main city number 3, Scarlet City. It was said that this city was the territory of main city number 2, Scarlet Moon, who was ranked first on the Battle Emperor leaderboard. It was very prosperous. Lin Shen chose Scarlet City to fill his stomach first. As for Long Kuan, he chose to go to the mountain range near Scarlet City to hunt vicious beasts in the Afterglow mountain range. It had not eaten meat for more than 10,000 years. Now that it was out in the world, it could not wait to hunt down a few 7th grade vicious beasts. Not only was Lin Shen not worried about this ferocious big guy entering the Afterglow mountain range, he even mourned for the vicious beasts in the mountain range for a second. If Long Kuan encountered an opponent that it could not defeat, even a 6th level combat emperor might not be able to stop it if it wanted to run away. In Scarlet City, there was a 500-story restaurant. On the 470th floor, Lin Shen swept the fallen leaves like a gust of wind, drinking lavishly. There were expensive wines, dragon liver, and phoenix marrow, everything that one could think of. He spent 700 to 800 firmament coins on this meal, which made many experts' mouths twitch. Just a meal, and it was already so luxurious. This kid was not simple. Lin Shen crossed his legs and burped contentedly. He rested his hands behind his head, and his eyes suddenly became sharp. I need to plan my way back to the spiritual state. If I fight my way back, I can only rely on the Godslayer's skill to turn the tide. If my Godslayer talent doesn't play a decisive role, I'll have to run out of the spiritual state again. There won't be a second time. Even though he was powerful now, he was almost invincible under the 5th level combat emperor. However, this was not enough. After becoming a combat emperor, Lin Shen vaguely knew that the vice principal's cultivation base was around the 8th or 9th level combat emperor. Even the vice principal, who was in charge of the Heavenly Song Academy, could not save the situation. He, who was not even a 2nd level combat emperor, was not enough. To put it bluntly, if he went back now, he would have to bet everything on the Godslayer talent. If the Godslayer talent did not play a decisive role, he would have to run away again. It is not enough for me to go back alone. I need to call for help. In the Jiuzhou continent, there are many combat emperors. I can't find or call for Sage Rel warriors, but I can still deal with combat emperors. With this thought, Lin Shen immediately found a direction. He had another identity, champion of the Peak Elixir Gathering, intermediate 7th level alchemist. With this identity, it was possible to find a group of combat emperors to be his fighters. Intermediate 7th level is not enough. This rank is not enough to move combat emperors above the 6th level. Combat emperors below the 5th level can only fill the middle ranks. The gap between the top ranks is still there. I need to at least become an advanced 7th level alchemist. My alchemy skills need to be improved. I have enough alchemy experience. What I lack now is the level of my spiritual energy. After thinking about it, Lin Chun connected to the system. Heavenly Tao Possession System version 5.0 Host Lin Chun Cultivation Late 1st Level Combat Emperor Realm Intermediate Battle Chi Essence 11 5 million points Maximum Strength 109,000 Dragon Power Intermediate Blood Essence 9 8 million points Intermediate Spiritual Energy 7,705 points Peak Transcendence Realm Intermediate Ability Soul Essence 756,800 points Intermediate Rune Energy 872,300 points Heavenly Tao Points 1095 540 points Talent Points 1133 550 points Intermediate Elemental Energy Fire Element 24850 points Earth Element 24770 points Wood Element 23448 points Metal Element 25225 points Water Element 24358 points Lightning Element 242250 points Wind Element 23880 points Light Element 21550 points Dark Element 23960 points Ability Status Column Open Bloodline Status Column Open Passive Talent Green Rank Reinforced Iron Bones 100% Blue Rank Life Increase 150% Blue Rank Divine Power 25% Blue Rank Emperor Slayer Active Talent Blue Rank God's Theft Omen Blue Rank Super Dimensional Transfer Blue Rank Fatal Bloodthirsty Fragment 2/3 Purple Rank Final Moment Purple Rank Ultimate Return Purple Rank Sovereign's Descent can be activated Orange Rank God Slayer Characteristic Rune Slow Level 5 Penetration Level 4 Charge Level 5 Phantom Level 5 Blank Attribute Points 2,290 points can be converted to any attribute points at will. Treasures Points Chapter 576 This time, the attribute values were unprecedentedly high. It was even stronger than when Lin Chun had activated the God Slayer. His attributes had all soared, and even his spiritual power had soared by more than 3,000 points. The mental bridge had reached 20% of its original height. System, convert all the blank attributes to spiritual power. System received. Converting. As the spiritual power attribute increased, the mental bridge in Lin Chen's mind extended once more. It had grown by another 10%. Suddenly, Lin Chen had an idea. He asked curiously, System, I want to fuse rune energy, talent points, and heaven Tao points. System received. Were the attributes that the host wishes to fuse. Air, then I'll use 100,000 rune energy, 100,000 heaven Tao points, and 100,000 talent points. The system's fusion function could fuse any non-growth attribute or treasure. Lin Chen's idea was purely a flash of inspiration. Anyway, this Lin had a lot of attribute values now. If he didn't have any attribute values, he could go find a few combat emperors to practice with. He could smash the ground full of attribute light balls. Host-specified attribute values have been consumed. Activating fusion function. 20,000 heaven Tao points have been consumed. Beginning fusion. At this moment, the system's fusion furnace rumbled, and a yellow box appeared in front of Lin Chen's eyes. Ding! Fusion successful. Host has received 1 talent combination skill frame. Note, a minimum of 2 talent combination skill frames can be used. Talent combination skill frame? Lin Chen was dumbfounded. System notification, talent combination skill frame. A specific talent can be registered in the skill frame. Once registered, it cannot be changed. Several talents in the talent combination skill frame can form a talent combination skill. Once the activation conditions are met, all the talents in the talent combination skill frame will be activated for free. Note, one-time talents cannot be registered in the talent combination skill frame. If the talents have a cooldown, The cooldown of the talents registered in the talent combination skill frame will not be shared with the host's original talents. The two will be separated. Lin Chen's expression went from confusion to shock, and then to shock. Finally, he opened his mouth wide and stared blankly. This F*King talent combination skill was amazing. Talent combination skill frame. As the name implied, Lin Chen could register many talents to form a talent combination skill. As long as the conditions were met, the registered talents could be activated for free. Moreover, the registered talent and the original talent did not share the same cooldown time. This meant that if Lin Chen registered the Sovereign's Descent talent in the combination skill, he could use the Sovereign's Descent talent for free. After using Monarch's Descent, if the original Monarch's Descent was not in cooldown, it could still be used again. I still need another talent combination skill frame to register the combination skill. Lin Chen felt that it was a pity, but he was not discouraged. Only now did he know that the fusion function could be used in this way. Let's try fusing it again and increase the value of the other attributes. Lin Chen, who was extremely excited, activated the fusion function again. The attributes fused this time were 200,000 talent points, 150,000 Heaven's Path points, 100,000 Cultivation Technique Soul Essences, and 100,000 Rune Energy. Consumed 30,000 Heavenly Tao points. Activating fusion function. Fusing the specified attribute. Ding. Fusion successful. Inside the system fusion furnace, another fragment with golden patterns floated up. Lin Chen's jaw dropped. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind. The fusion function is F*King awesome. Congratulations, host. You've obtained one-time use, orange talent fragment, Godslayer 1/3. The Godslayer talent fragment. Although he didn't get the talent combination skill frame, he got an orange talent fragment. Damn it, if I find 2 more, I'll get another Godslayer. Ha 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 ha. If I can return to the spiritual state with 2 Godslayer talents, I'll be safe. Lin Chen almost jumped up in excitement. Almost got too excited. The attribute points needed for fusion are all needed at any time, and I can't use them all at once. I'll save them for the next fusion. He forcefully suppressed the ecstasy in his heart. If he consumed all his attribute points for the talent combo box and the Godslayer talent fragment, he would not be able to use the ultimate moment and the characteristic rune. That would be putting the cart before the horse. System, I want to learn the second half of Blazing Blue Rainbow and Judgment of Eternal Night. The second half of the target combat technique will cost 96,000 cultivation technique soul essences. Are you sure? Yes. Lin Chen closed his eyes to rest, and the azure dragon in his body guarded the surroundings for him so that he could quietly inherit the 2 combat techniques. Half a day later, when he opened his eyes again, the restaurant was noisy. Lin Chen opened his eyes, and a godly light flashed in his pupils. Including his 100 spears fighting emperor, he had already mastered 5 purple rank intermediate battle skills and above. He was invincible at the same level, at least on the 9 states continent. At this moment, Lin Chen was attracted by the noise. Many masters in the restaurant looked out the window and saw a crimson bridge being pulled in by 4 desolate cloud sky bulls, which were top-tier level 6 vicious beasts. The sky bulls stepped on the clouds majestically. With Lin Chen's eyesight, he could sense that there was an extremely powerful being inside the crimson bridge, even without using his purple golden eyes. The pressure that leaked out from his cultivation was similar to that of Long Qi. More horrifying was that there seemed to be an extremely powerful spirit fluctuation. It's the Crimson Queen. She's back. My goodness, what a terrifying aura. She's the #1 on the Combat Emperor ranking list in the 2nd main city. I wonder if she has reached the 6th level? With her Heaven Ascension realm spiritual strength and her cultivation strength, even if she hasn't reached the 6th level of the Combat Emperor ranking list, I'm afraid her combat strength isn't too bad. Hey, don't use your aura to investigate. Be careful not to be targeted by her. The Crimson Queen loves to play with men. Don't worry, there's nothing to be afraid of. She likes to play with pure and beautiful young men, not old foxes like us. Hearing the discussions around him, Lin Chun clicked his tongue in wonder. If it wasn't for the fact that the Crimson Queen was terrifyingly powerful, he really wanted to meet her. Seeing the Crimson Queen's palanquin leaving, Lin Chun shook his head and laughed. I'm full now. It's time to leave the Firmament Tower in the third main city and go to the Dan State to spread the news. Just as Lin Chun got up and was about to leave, another thin man's smirk attracted Lin Chun's attention. You guys don't know yet, right? The Crimson Queen just bought a young man with the Azure Dragon bloodline at the auction in the Solitary Cloud Ridge. She's probably going to suck that young man dry this time. Azure Dragon bloodline? One unlucky guy. What's the background of that kid? His body refinement strength is comparable to a half-step martial emperor, and his battle chi cultivation is at the 5th level of the Yuan Venerate realm. I heard that he's very young and very strong. He just entered the Firmament Tower half a year ago. I think his name is by Juanhao. Rumble. A terrifying aura faintly leaked out from Lin Chen's body. A 9-colored divine light flashed across his eyes. This aura scared the half-step martial emperors who were still in the midst of their discussion to the side, their faces pale with fright. What's the name you mentioned just now? Lin Chen lifted the thin man's collar with one hand and asked with a murderous aura. Chapter 577. By Juanhao. The skinny man was terrified. His half-step sovereign cultivation was completely suppressed by this young man. He was lifted up like a chicken without any strength to fight back. Characteristics: how old is he? Azure Dragon bloodline. Big, about 20 years old. Very young. Lin Chen put down the skinny man and looked out the window with a serious expression. If it's really Juanhao, I have to go even if it's a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. Lin Chen couldn't abandon his comrade from the desolate region. It seemed like he had to go and meet this Scarlet Queen. I don't have time to call Long Kuan now. If I'm late, Juanhao might be finished. I have to go personally. The moonlight flashed, and Lin Chun turned into a wisp of smoke. Night, Scarlet Palace. The lights were dazzling, and the red curtain was blurry. Lin Chun used the Azure Dragon shadow to eliminate his own aura. After finding the Scarlet Queen's approximate location with his purple gold eyes, he avoided her detection zone and went into the palace. In a fragrant boudoir, a beautiful woman in a red robe opened her eyes. Her fiery red lips curled up slightly. Another little cutie actually broke into my territory. If I hadn't activated my spiritual detection zone in advance, you might have escaped. In the backyard of the palace, 2 women in embroidered clothes clapped their hands and walked out. One of them smiled and said, "This kid is quite strong. He's still so lively even after being sealed. Hee. Otherwise, why would Master like him? He must be young and strong. It's a pity that he doesn't have much fate." After the 2 women left, the backyard was completely silent. However, the door to the secret room opened a crack in a strange manner. Then, it opened without any warning and closed again. Inside the secret room was a very romantic room. It was red with jade curtains, red sandalwood smoke, and a pink jade bed. A struggling young man was tied up on the bed. Suddenly, a silver-robed figure appeared out of thin air. The young man on the bed was so frightened that he trembled. After seeing the figure clearly, the person on the bed struggled excitedly. Because his lips were sealed, he could only make muffled sounds. Lin Chen made a hushed gesture, and the young man stopped struggling. Then, Lin Chen untied him. Lin Chen frowned. The battle chi seal on by Juanhao's body had a spiritual restriction. If he forcefully tore it open, it would definitely alert its owner. "Big brother, how did you know I was here?" Bai Juanhao was so excited that he gave Lin Chen a bear hug. Lin Chen knocked on his head and scolded him with a smile. "Damn you. You should thank me for passing by and having a meal. Otherwise, you'd be dead. What I want to ask is, why are you here? How long has it been? And you've already broken into the Firmament Tower of the Divine Land." With that said, Lin Chen handed Bai Juanhao a Tier 6 pill, the Aura Concealing Pill. This pill could completely remove one's aura. It would make it easier to escape. Without saying anything else, Lin Chun led by Ju and Hao out of the secret room. The security of the Crimson Palace was extremely tight, and there was no lack of war emperors overseeing it. Lin Chun had to be very careful when he left with someone. On the way out, Bai Ju and Hao briefly recounted what had happened along the way. It turned out that after Bai Ju and Hao had gone to Tianzhou with a large group, he had relied on the pure sacred fire seed that Lin Chun had left for him to quickly enter the Yuan Venerate realm. During one of his adventures in Tianzhou, he had obtained the inheritance of an ancient green dragon and 3 fallen war emperors. These 4 powerful beings had fallen at the same place at the same time, and Bai Ju and Hao had coincidentally encountered them. With the green dragon bloodline, he was extremely compatible with the inheritance of the ancient green dragon, so his cultivation speed was extremely fast. One of the war emperors had left behind an entry permit for the Firmament Tower. Therefore, he had rushed all the way from Tianzhou to the Divine Land. On the way, he had heard that Lin Chun had destroyed the various descendants of gods and the peak elixir meat, which had strengthened his desire to enter the Firmament Tower. Bai Ju and Hao had even beaten up a very young false god descendant before entering the Firmament Tower. Even Lin Chun clicked his tongue in wonder. This kid was really fierce. He had even dared to beat up a false god descendant. As expected of someone who had hung out with Lin Chun before, he had not embarrassed Lin Chun. After entering the Firmament Tower, Bai Ju and Hao had learned about Lin Chun from the War Emperor territory on the War Emperor list in Main City Number 1. This was because Lin Chun had used his God Slayer innate skill to deal with Yun Mingqing and had offended almost all the War Emperors in Main City Number 1. His name was simply Thunderous. Subsequently, Bai Ju and Hao had barged all the way to Main City Number 2, where he had been targeted and kidnapped by a powerful War Emperor. He had been auctioned off and eventually bought by the Scarlet Queen. Your seal is a little special. I will help you remove it after we leave this place completely. Lin Chun patted Bai Ju and Hao's shoulder and felt a little emotional. He had not expected to meet a former companion in the Firmament Tower. I will follow Big Brother's arrangement. Bai Ju and Hao laughed mischievously. As long as he was by Lin Chun's side, he would not be afraid even if he pierced a hole in the sky. In his heart, Lin Chun was the most powerful person in the 9 prefectures. The two retreated from the backyard all the way to the front courtyard of the palace, avoiding the 3 war emperors. Along the way, Lin Chun was a little puzzled. The Scarlet Queen in the center of the palace did not seem to have moved at all. Perhaps she was in secluded cultivation. Just as the two were about 1,000 miles away from the front courtyard, a spiritual wave, an extremely powerful battle, chi, aura, suddenly suppressed them from the void. Not good. We have been discovered. Lin Chun's expression changed slightly. He grabbed Bai Ju and Hao and unfolded his purple phoenix wings, revealing his War Emperor aura. Lin Chun activated the ultimate moment. He activated the moonlight hazy shadow with all his strength and turned into an aurora under the night sky, violently rushing out of the palace. Scarlet Fantasy City. With a cold shout, a blood-red moon rose under the night sky, illuminating the entire Scarlet City. At this moment, Lin Chun's expression became extremely solemn. He had just escaped to the void 10,000 miles away from the palace when he immediately stopped moving. They had been sealed. There was a powerful spiritual barrier in the Scarlet City. Its owner could activate it with his spiritual energy to create a powerful spiritual illusion. With a single thought, he caused such a huge city and all the experts in the city to fall into a trance and be sealed in a spiritual illusion. What a powerful technique. Perhaps even a 6th-level War Emperor would not be able to do it. Lin Chun squinted his eyes and subconsciously checked his fate wheel. At this moment, the 9 tribulations' origin and his fate will still needed some time to recover. In other words, the 9 tribulation star could not be used yet, unless he was prepared to use it. Lin Chun patted Bai Ju and Hao's shoulder and activated the Genesis Holy Scripture and the 9 tribulations of creation, tearing apart the seal on Bai Ju and Hao's body. Since they had been discovered, they were not afraid of exposing their location. "Brother, be careful. That woman is very fierce." Bai Juanhao floated in the air with a trace of fear on his face. "Calm down. I've never been afraid of hitting women. Today, I'll let her have a taste of my spear skills." Lin Shan smiled casually. The five-colored dragon, Qi, flashed out. Lin Shun held the five dragons' imperial spear and looked up at a certain direction in the sky. An enchanting figure in a red robe appeared in the void like a snake. Under the blood-red moonlight, she looked extremely illusory and charming. I didn't expect to be able to buy one, get one free. The figure in the red robe's lazy voice was soft and gentle, like an invitation from a female who was seductive to the bone. Lin Shun was extremely vigilant. This kind of seduction skill had surpassed the race and was very powerful. It was not only effective on humans, but also other races. This was an extremely high level. Seeing the figure in the red robe that was about to burst, Lin Shun raised his eyebrows. F*CK, so fierce. Bai Juanhao swallowed his saliva and said with difficulty, "Brother, can you take it?" Lin Shun gripped his battle spear tightly with a serious expression. "I can take it." As soon as he said that, a gentle breeze blew the hem of the beautiful woman's red robe. The two brothers had a tacit understanding and turned their heads at the same time. A beautiful scene entered their eyes, and Lin Shun wiped the blood from his nose. "I can still take it." Chapter 578. The Crimson Formation has been activated. Master has made her move. What is going on? Who is this? How could he force Master to activate the Crimson Formation? All the experts in the Crimson Palace were shocked. The three combat emperors under the Crimson Queen's command quickly moved out. Not only was Lin Shun trapped in the illusion, but all the experts in the city were also trapped in the illusion. Their lives were all in the Crimson Queen's hands. Outside the palace, in the sky, the blurry red curtain covered the entire city. It was impossible to tell where the exit was. "You're not young, but your movement technique is quite fast. If we were not in the Crimson City, I would not have been able to trap you." The Crimson Queen chuckled. Just as she shifted her gaze to Lin Shun, she suddenly froze on the spot. The young man wore a silver robe, had brows that were light like willows, a handsome appearance, and a frivolous smile faintly hung on the corners of his mouth. His pupils that were deep like an abyss were calm from the beginning until the end, and his bearing was extraordinary and extraordinary. Most importantly, he was the same age as the young man with the Azure Dragon bloodline that she had taken a fancy to. However, his talent was many times higher than the latter's. Late-stage first-level combat Emperor Realm. A 21-year-old combat emperor. What did that mean? In the entire Jojo continent, there had never been a combat emperor under the age of 100. The Crimson Queen's body trembled slightly as she tried to calm herself down. Then, she walked toward Lin Shun with her long, slender legs. Her cheeks were tinged with a faint blush as she spoke to Lin Shun in a serious manner. "If you want to get married for your honeymoon, how about we go to the Sea of Cherry Blossoms in Ming Province?" F*CK. Lin Shun was dumbfounded. What kind of greeting is this? She wants to get married the moment she meets him? He had even chosen the location for their honeymoon. "Crimson Queen, are you mistaken? I'm only here to save someone. Moreover, I am not interested in you." Lin Shun, who had always dealt with women with ease, took a few steps back. "Don't worry. As long as there is love, anything can be crossed." The Crimson Queen spread her arms and said excitedly, "Cross over my ass." Lin Shin's mouth twitched violently. He had heard that the Crimson Queen practiced a technique called the Yin-Yang Union of 10,000 arts, which allowed her to absorb a man's battle chi while having sex with him. This sort of cultivation technique was considered unorthodox in the outside world. Furthermore, the grade of this cultivation technique was unrefined and could only be cultivated up to the Yuan Venerate level. At most, one could reach the 9th level Yuan Venerate level. However, the Crimson Queen's technique had broken through the boundaries of this unorthodox realm. It could even be used by combat emperors. It was said that it was a remnant of a heaven-defying technique that had been passed down from the sacred boundary to the 9 continents. The condition for absorbing cultivation base was that the higher the talent of the other party, the smaller the side effects of absorbing cultivation base and cultivating. The Crimson Queen had a fatal attraction to some extremely talented and young men, which was why she had bought Bai Juanhao. His natural talent was not inferior to the divine prefecture's descendants of gods. However, in the eyes of the Crimson Queen, Bai Juanhao and Lin Shun were not even on the same level. A 21-year-old battle emperor, a body-tempering sovereign, there was no doubt that if she could obtain Lin Shun, her cultivation base and future cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. The price for a woman's rapid advancement was that a man's cultivation base would not be able to advance. Being plundered and absorbed for a long time would even affect one's foundation, causing one's cultivation base to regress and even endanger one's life. Since you have thought it through, why don't you let my brother off? I will definitely pay you a visit next time and thank you for this favor. If you don't believe me, I will compensate you 5 times the amount of firmament dollars you spent on my brother. How about that? Lin Chen cupped his fists and gripped his spear tightly. Even though the other party's entire body was flickering with attribute light balls, he did not dare rashly start a fight. Fighting in the spirit illusion realm was the home of the Crimson Queen. This was extremely disadvantageous for him. Furthermore, he still had to protect Bai Juanhao. If he could avoid a fight, he definitely would not. Long Qi, who Lin Shun had killed, was ranked 3rd on the War Emperor list in city number 2. This woman was ranked 1st on the War Emperor list in city number 2. Furthermore, they were fighting in the opponent's home ground. Under the premise that he could not use the 9 Tribulation Star, Lin Shun did not have much confidence that he could forcefully escape. A large part of the reason for Long Qi's death was Lin Chen's 9 Tribulation Star. After being severely injured, he was besieged and killed by Lin Chen's doppelgangers. Lin Shun, who could not use this killer move for the time being, could not bring Bai Juanhao and risk their lives to force their way through. 5 times the amount of firmament dollars. This offer is really tempting. However, I will not accept it. You still have one choice. That is, you stay. If you stay, he can leave safely. The Crimson Queen covered her mouth and chuckled. Her seductive eyes were like silk, but she did not waver at all. Big brother, if you stay, I will not leave either. Bai Juanhao's tone was firm. Lin Shin smiled and shook his head. Crimson Queen, this is not realistic. The 2 of us must leave. Then let's leave another day. How about that? Big sister will let you experience nirvana. The Crimson Queen licked her fiery red lips with her small red tongue and smiled seductively. The corner of Lin Chen's mouth twitched. Damn, this woman is really exuding the aura of a horseshoe bug from head to toe. Who can resist this? Since the Queen has invited me, we will talk about it another day. Lin Chen smiled. In the next moment, he suddenly became fierce and murderous. 6 transformations. Dragon Emperor. Doppelgangers, come out. Lin Chen's aura suddenly surged, and he temporarily advanced from peak stage 1 to peak stage 2. Ultimate moment. Return to origin. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 4 doppelgangers and the Dragon Emperor appeared out of thin air. Their bodies were surrounded by a dark green glow, and they instantly entered the ultimate moment state. The Dragon Emperor protected by Juanhao and retreated at lightning speed. Lin Chen's aura soared to the sky, and he attacked with all his strength together with the 4 doppelgangers. Fighting Emperor Style 70, Demon Splitting Spear, 8 Desolate Fingers, Blazing Green Moon, Soul Judgment, Dark Lightning Leaf. The spear's aura was like a dragon piercing through the world, and the sword's aura crossed the sky. The 8 Desolate Energy Finger suddenly pressed forward, and a dark lightning arrow's light dimmed the blood moon's light by 30%. Such a terrifying attack was completed in the blink of an eye. Even the Crimson Queen had a serious expression on her face. Crimson Moon Chill. As spiritual power and battle aura surged, 10 blood moons spun and danced down, like 10 galaxies falling from the sky, and blocked all of Lin Chen's attacks. Bang! 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 The attacks all over the sky exploded, and the spinning blood moons shattered and scattered. However, Lin Chen's attacks were also blocked. The explosion shook the entire center of Crimson City. Lin Chen flapped his purple phoenix wings, and his main body took the lead to attack the Crimson Queen. Whoosh! The Crimson Queen changed directions and dodged like lightning. Her speed was so fast that even Lin Chen could not catch up. The blood mist in the air condensed into a giant energy hand and slapped toward Lin Chen. The battle spear in his hand shook, and dozens of spear lights pierced through the giant energy hand. Lin Chen retreated, not daring to give chase. Sure enough, this spiritual illusion realm is not only created by the Scarlet Empress's mental strength, it is also supported by the formation set up by the entire city. Fighting in this place is her home ground. Perhaps even a 6th-level combat emperor would be defeated by her. When Lin Chen retreated like lightning and met up with his doppelgangers, Bai Juanhao's exclamation was heard. "Big brother, this is bad." Chapter 579. After the battle with Long Qi and the 5 combat emperors in the 9 Azura tombs, Lin Chen's strength had a breakthrough in all aspects. With his current cultivation level, the 6 transformations, and the ultimate moment of the 4 great clones, each had the strength between the late 4th and early 5th stage. Coupled with the strength of his main body, anyone below the late 5th stage would be suppressed by him. As for the everlasting Azure Dragon Emperor, he had officially become a 7th-rank, mid-grade, vicious beast. His pure strength was comparable to an early 4th-rank vicious beast, and his full combat strength was comparable to an early 5th-rank combat emperor. Even if he couldn't win, there wasn't much of a difference. "Big brother, not good," as Bai Juanhao exclaimed in shock. A raging fire Qilin suddenly charged over on a wave of fire. Its 30,000-meter-long body was like a blazing sun as it charged towards Bai Juanhao. It was a peak early 7th stage raging flame Qilin. In addition, there were 3 third-stage combat emperors surrounding the Dragon Emperor. If the Dragon Emperor were to fight this formation alone, it would be completely possible because its defense and speed were unparalleled. But if it had to protect Bai Juanhao at the same time, it would be a completely different concept. The Dragon Emperor didn't fight immediately. Instead, he released the Azure Dragon Domain to delay the 3 of them and the Raging Flame Qilin. Then, he twisted his dragon body, flapped his purple phoenix wings, and used the frightening dragon roam to retreat. Bai Juanhao felt aggrieved. He wanted to attack, but couldn't. With his strength, other than stabilizing himself on the Dragon Emperor's body, he had no other choice. This battle wasn't something he could interfere with. Just running away won't change the result. Clone go. With a thought, Lin Chen's clone wielded the white jade green sword, white frost green rainbow, to support the Dragon Emperor. The situation of the battle instantly changed. The blazing green rainbow sword art was executed one after another. Lin Chen's clone was unstoppable. Just by himself, he was able to defeat 3 mid-3rd-level combat emperors. The battle was completely one-sided. Lin Chen's main body retreated in a flash. He squinted his eyes and suddenly swept his spear. The spear light was like a crescent moon, slashing towards a void 30,000 li away. Bang! Bang! The sound of battle chi colliding reverberated in the sky. Crimson Queen, who was hiding in the dark, was rather surprised. What an interesting little guy. His attainments in spiritual power are also very high, but he hasn't reached the reaching heaven state yet. But how did he find out where my real body is in the illusion? The Crimson Queen's figure flickered as she floated to a higher position, looking down at Lin Chen. From the previous wave of attacks, this person's strength was not to be underestimated. His 4 doppelgangers, the Dragon Emperor, and his own battle prowess were all monstrous. If he were to use his true body to face the enemy head-on, he would have to pay a heavy price even if he was in the Crimson Illusory Realm. Moreover, The Crimson Queen's goal wasn't to kill Lin Chen right away. She wanted him to become her partner and the cornerstone of her cultivation. Such a powerful doppelganger technique must have come at a high price. Since that's the case, the Crimson Empress, will go all out to meet you. The Crimson Queen flew into the sky and stepped on the blood moon. Her jade-like hands moved rapidly as she formed a seal. As for Lin Chen, his opponent's spiritual power was at the reaching heaven state. Her illusory realm wasn't something he could see through. Even if he could find the Crimson Queen's position in the illusory realm with the help of the attribute light ball, in the illusory realm, the Crimson Queen's speed was faster than Lin Chen's real body. Unless he used the Azure Dragon possession to activate the purple phoenix wings, he could only try. However, Lin Chen didn't want to compete with her in terms of speed, because his real body wouldn't be her match even if he caught up with her. Since his opponent wanted to exhaust him to death, then he would go along with her plan. Kill everything in sight. Lin Chen's killing intent was awe-inspiring. He actually controlled all his doppelgangers to attack the 3 third-level combat emperors and the raging flame Qilin. Not good. This brat wants to attack my people? The Crimson Queen, who was using some kind of secret technique, suddenly had a change in her expression. She waved her jade-like hand lightly, and her spiritual power swept out like a hurricane. Countless mirages and illusions rushed into Lin Chen's mind. The entire Crimson City was transformed into a desert in Lin Chen's vision. The scene of the battle between the raging flame Qilin and the 3 combat emperors had completely disappeared. However, Lin Chen was like a boorish man as he plunged headfirst into the bottom of the empty desert, letting the wind and sand wreak havoc. Lin Chen and his doppelgangers didn't care about anything else. They used the 8 Desolation Finger, the 58th style of fighting emperor. The attacks of his real body and his doppelgangers were not careless at all. Bang! The illusory realm shattered, and the desert turned back into the Crimson Illusory Realm. Lin Chen's numerous attacks landed on the 3 combat emperors. 2 of them were seriously injured, and a large number of attribute light balls rolled down from them. The Rune of Penetration's special property allowed 20% of the attack's power to penetrate the body of the 3rd combat emperor. The combat emperor, whose defensive artifact was destroyed by the White Frost and Green Rainbow Sword, died on the spot. My illusory realm didn't trap him? How is this possible? If I use the illusory realm in the Crimson City, even a 6th-level combat emperor or a heavenly completion realm expert might not be able to break through the Crimson Illusory Realm so quickly. The Crimson Empress was completely shocked. It was because she had absolute confidence in protecting her subordinates in the Crimson Illusory Realm that she allowed the 3 combat emperors and the raging flame Qilin to recklessly come into contact with Lin Chen. They wanted to use this opportunity to exhaust Lin Chen's strength. However, they didn't expect that Lin Chen wasn't affected by the illusory realm at all. How'd he do it? In the Crimson City, some of the combat emperors who had entered the city to recuperate were dumbfounded as they looked at the few silhouettes flashing back and forth in the air. Oh my God, a late 2nd-level combat emperor killing a mid-3rd-level combat emperor? Who is this kid? How can he be so terrifying? If such a heaven-defying expert appeared in the 2nd and 3rd main cities, it's impossible that we didn't receive the news. Wait a minute. The 10,000-year Green Dragon Emperor with the purple phoenix wings. I remember now. It's Lin Chen from the 1st main city. 10 months ago, nearly 30% of the combat emperors on the Combat Emperor leaderboard in City Number 1 were pissed off by him. Then, he killed Yin Mingxing in City Number 1 in front of Long Qi's clone in City Number 2. When the 13 combat emperors in the Crimson City recognized Lin Chen's identity, they exclaimed in surprise, "Swoosh! Swoosh! Rumble!" The 10,000-year black light blade fell on the raging flame Qilin's body and tore its body apart. Without the protection of the 3 combat emperors, the raging flame Qilin was no match for the Dragon Emperor. At this moment, a divine light flashed across the raging flame Qilin's neck like a shooting star. Qi! A pillar of fire spurted out. That was the blood of the raging flame Qilin. The strong fire energy in its body made its blood as hot as lava. Its head was chopped off by Lin Shun and then caught by him. Lin Shun, who was holding the head of the raging flame Qilin, issued an order. Green Dragon Emperor, swallow it. The Dragon Emperor opened his mouth and continuously devoured the raging flame Qilin's flesh and blood, as well as the large amount of qi and blood attribute light balls rolling off its body. With his current cultivation, swallowing the raging flame Qilin's beast core wouldn't be of much use. However, Lin Shun could make use of the raging flame Qilin's beast core to create a killer move. Chapter 580. Lin Shen's main body carried the Qilin's head and quietly channeled a vast amount of fire calamity battle chi into it. A terrifying amount of energy was brewing inside the Qilin's head. Host consumed 300 points of rune energy, 200 points of rune energy, 280 points. Continuously activating level 5 slow rune. The special effect of the slow rune was continuously channeled into the Qilin's head, brewing a terrifying wave of destruction. However, other than Lin Shun, no one else could feel this energy because the flow of energy inside the Qilin's head had slowed down to a crawl. The sword light was like lightning, the saber light was like a snowflake, and the arrow light flew back and forth. The last 2 third-level combat emperors were killed by Lin Shen's clones. They didn't even have the chance to self-destruct. Received 18,000 points of blood chi, 14,000 points of blood chi, 21,000 points of blood chi, 9,000 points of rune energy, 20,000 points of battle chi essence, 200 points of fire energy, 240 points of wind energy. As the light balls were collected by the Dragon Emperor, Lin Shen's pure strength skyrocketed. The 3 third-level combat emperors had provided Lin Shun with a high amount of attribute points. He was getting closer and closer to breaking through to the 2nd-level combat emperor. The light balls dropped by the raging flame Qilin were of high quality, and there were many of them. System, I want to strengthen the divine force talent to 50%. Consumed 150,000 points. Blue rank talent. Divine force has been strengthened to 50%. It can increase the host's pure strength by 50%. It is not suitable for body refinement bottlenecks. It can only increase the host's strength by 10 million points. After killing the raging flame Qilin, Lin Shen's pure strength had risen to 1.35 million. With the 50% boost from the divine force, his pure strength had reached 1.99 million points. Along with the Dragon Emperor and his clones, the time limit was up. His main body and his clones were dispelled at the same time. When the experts of Scarlet City saw his figure, they couldn't help but retreat. This young man was too cruel. He killed combat emperors as if he was killing a chicken. He didn't even frown. Very good, as expected of the young man I fancy. You are indeed a unique existence in the 9 continents. The more you act like this, the more I want you. The Crimson Emperor's voice was filled with resentment and resentment as it resounded throughout the entire city. Lin Shen's attack after breaking through the illusion realm had caused her to lose 4 third-level combat emperors as her right-hand man. Lin Shun carried the huge Qilin head with one hand and said with a carefree smile, I've always been praised as the most handsome and most unexpected student. You'll suffer if you look down on me, Scarlet Queen. If you remove the illusion now, we can still talk. Of course, it won't be in the future. Talk. You've killed 3 of my battle emperors and the raging flame Qilin that I've been raising for 10,000 years. There was a hint of killing intent in the Crimson Queen's charming voice. Lin Chen shook his head and laughed. He had spouted some nonsense. Even $1 million firmament dollars could not compare to this loss. If you stay in my hands later, I'll make you beg for death. If I don't suck your cultivation dry, I'm not the Crimson Empress. Hearing this, many experts in the city shuddered. Lin Shen's mouth twitched violently. F***K. Who can withstand this? It was said that 30 years old was like a wolf, 40 was like a tiger. This Crimson Empress had lived for at least 10,000 years. The Dragon Emperor protected by Jiu Hao and retreated to the side. Just as Lin Shan was about to raise his head, the stars in the entire city changed. The Crimson Illusion began to change. Boom! The Crimson City had become a whole new world. The buildings around it became extremely exquisite and full of emotions. Everywhere was emitting an aura that stimulated hormones. Countless beauties walked out of the exquisite buildings slowly. There were all kinds of beauties walking out of the buildings. Everything that could be imagined was here. There were countless of them. They were emitting endless charm. Even the battle emperors could not resist their temptation and influence. The entire Crimson City seemed to have been reduced to a charming paradise. Lin Chen quickly activated the grand beginning Holy Bible. The spiritual power in his body seemed to form countless vortexes. The Crimson Illusion that was trying to invade Lin Chen's spiritual sea was completely removed by the grand beginning Holy Bible. Even Bai Juanhao could not help but reveal an expression of being mesmerized. He had completely fallen for it. With his cultivation, it was difficult for him to resist this level of charm. Juanhao, wake up! Lin Chen used his spiritual power to wake Bai Juanhao up. He scratched his head awkwardly and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, big brother. I activate your green dragon bloodline and enter the most violent state. Try your best to stay rational." Lin Chen did not have time to explain to him. He activated his spiritual power and shouted. Without saying a word, Bai Juanhao activated the green dragon bloodline in his body and turned into a terrifying humanoid green dragon. His eyes glowed green, and his ferocious aura swept across the entire street. Although the killing intent in Bai Juanhao's eyes was intense, he still managed to stay rational for a short period of time. Both of them managed to block it. One of them used the violent nature of the green dragon bloodline to forcefully maintain his rationality. But that little guy's spiritual power is very advanced. The Crimson Empress, who was hiding in the sky, was shocked. Her coquettish eyes revealed a greedy look. This kid must have a high-level spirit cultivation secret manual on him. If she could get it, she was afraid that her control of illusions would be improved by a few levels. Even some low-level battle emperors were affected. Their eyes were blurred as they walked toward the charming Crimson Palace. Although the situation was dangerous, Lin Chen's expression occasionally became serious. However, the smile on his face remained calm and composed from beginning to end. At this moment, more than a dozen beautiful figures walked out of the palace. They were of different shapes and sizes, and each of them had their own merits. One advanced illusion technique. Some of these beauties are real and some are fake. To deal with Yuan venerables, they used illusions. To deal with battle emperors, they used specially trained maids to use special seduction techniques to seduce battle emperors. In the end, the Crimson Empress would be the one to benefit. Lin Chen exclaimed. When he looked at the doorplate of the Crimson Palace, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. The words on the doorplate read, "Battle in the Imperial City. The winner is king. Beautiful women and treasured sabers." Lin Chen's mouth twitched. Once again, he saw colorful lights shooting up into the sky. This was the sign of a high-grade treasure being born. A top-notch 7th-level weapon. There's more than one. Haha, we're rich. Some of the battle emperors were not lustful, but they were attracted by the illusion of a high-grade weapon being born. There were even 3 battle emperors whose eyes became especially wild as they aimed at Lin Shun. At this moment, Lin Shun had become a person who was full of treasures and had high-grade elixir pills in his possession. These battle emperors had relaxed when the illusion of a high-grade weapon was born. When the illusion invaded their consciousness, they didn't know that they were in an illusion. They saw the appearance of a top-notch 7th-level weapon and a top-notch 7th-level elixir pill on Lin Chen's body. Without saying a word, more than 10 half-emperors and 3 battle emperors immediately drew their sabers and slashed at Lin Chen. Lin Chen couldn't help but curse. F***CK. You want to slash me just because you're my brother? I'm not trash. 3 clones appeared in a flash. and then they formed seals with their hands, causing 6 spiritual Azura phantoms to condense and appear in midair. Suddenly, 6 spiritual Azura phantoms burst out with 6 spiritual Azura phantoms that could shatter the universe. And they were like all-powerful gales that smashed towards the group of experts that were deep in the illusion. Many beauties formed by the illusion let out a scream and were shattered into nothingness by the spiritual attacks. At this moment, 10 graceful figures started to condense in the sky above Lin Chen's head. The aura of each of them was actually comparable to that of a late-stage, 4th-level battle emperor. Chapter 581. She actually used the power of illusion to create 10 late 4th-level combat emperors. Should I try the rune of deceleration? But in the illusion, she can use the power of illusion at will. Even if I use the rune of deceleration to seal her, she can still use the power of illusion to block me. Just as Lin Chen was thinking, the Scarlet Queen's chuckle was heard. Since the illusion can't trap you, I would like to see how much combat strength you have. The sound of her laughter was accompanied by a vibration of mental strength, which made Lin Chen feel dizzy. His doppelganger was no exception. Even though he wouldn't be trapped in the illusion, the combat strength of his doppelganger and his doppelganger would still be reduced when they were trapped in the illusion. Suddenly, Lin Chen's eyes lit up. When he took a closer look, he saw that the 10 beauties in the illusion were all condensed from battle chi essence and a large amount of mental strength attribute light balls. Everyone, it seems that the Scarlet Queen wants us to become the nourishment of her illusion. How about we join forces to break the illusion? A middle-aged man in a green robe said seriously. He carried a sword on his back and was a late 3rd-level combat emperor. He was a pure sword emperor. He was also one of the few experts who hadn't been trapped in the illusion. I won't get involved. She is the #1 expert on the War Emperor list. It won't be good to offend her. 2 old men in black robes retreated to the side. Then, another 2 mid-3rd-level combat emperors expressed their intention to break the illusion together. Once they were trapped in the extremely dangerous ecstasy cave, their cultivation would become the nourishment of the illusion, and they would become the Scarlet Queen's stepping stone. They were all proud people who wouldn't bow their heads easily. At present, there were still 5 combat emperors who were hesitating. After all, they were just passing by the Scarlet City for a short rest. Who would have thought that they would be involved in this battle? In the past, the Scarlet Queen wouldn't activate the illusion unless it was a matter of life and death. But who would have thought that she would encounter an unprecedented existence like Lin Chen? They didn't hesitate to use their trump card, but they didn't dare to offend the #1 expert on the War Emperor list. At the same time, they couldn't afford to offend Lin Chen. Lin Chen looked appreciatively at the 3 people who dared to resist, but before he could say anything, a voice suddenly rang out. At this time, the 10 graceful women in the sky gathered together and lifted their long skirts, revealing their fair and tender legs. They formed a half-moon formation and waved their 20 shining legs, sending a bliss invitation to Lin Chen and the others. Lin Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. Holy shit, who could withstand this? What kind of formation is this? One of the 10 beauties, a purple beauty, smiled charmingly. Little brother, this is the beauty array. Lin Chen raised an eyebrow. How beautiful! The 10 beauties lifted their clothes and skirts, revealing their faintly discernible snow-white skin. This caused Lin Mao to wipe the blood from his nose. He turned his head and spoke to the 3 battle emperors with a serious expression. The 3 of you, this beauty array is too dangerous. You guys should take a rest. I'm still young, so let me do it. As the saying goes, if I don't enter hell, who will? This time I'll lead the charge. With that said, Lin Chen lifted the Qilin's head and flew up with his 4 clones. The battle emperors and the Crimson Queen couldn't help but twitch their mouths when they saw him carrying the raging flame Qilin's head. F***CK. Are you serious? You're really leading the charge. Suddenly, 3 yellow-robed battle emperors among the 5 battle emperors who hadn't spoken yet yelled with righteousness. "Little friend, don't worry. We'll save you." The 3 battle emperors roared and charged forward with weapons in their hands. "No, I'm indomitable, handsome, tough, and durable. How can I let you save me? Today, I'll let the beauty array taste the power of the men of the spiritual state. Don't fight with me, or I'll fight with you." The last sentence was from Lin Chen's heart. Created by the illusions, these beauties were full of elemental light balls that contained the essence of spirit energy and battle aura. If he could kill all of them, wouldn't his spiritual power soar to a whole new level? Lin Chen turned around and scolded the emperors behind him. As soon as he finished speaking, he sucked in a breath of cold air. The 3 battle emperors even took off their pants. F*CK, you said you would save me? Why the F*CK would you save me with your pants off? The yellow-robed battle emperor said with a straight face, "Little friend, the weather is too hot. If we don't take off our pants, we'll get heat stroke." Lin Chen said, "Bullsh*T. I was just having hot pot 2 days ago." "Ah, come on, let's have fun. We have plenty of time." The 10 beauties of the beauty array danced gracefully. A series of swaying plump and snow-white breasts came into view. The 3 battle emperors were mesmerized, and even the battle emperors behind Lin Chen began to waver. This beauty array could mesmerize several 5th-level battle emperors at the same time, let alone 2nd and 3rd-level battle emperors. Lin Chen was also trapped in the illusions. When he saw more and more scenes that were not suitable for children, he couldn't easily break through these illusions. However, the corners of his mouth began to curl up. The eyes of his doppelganger and his true body were empty, and they were about to throw themselves into the arms of the beauties in the beauty array. He took the bait. That little guy can't resist the enchantment of the Crimson Moon beauty array. Humph! This time, I'll suck his cultivation dry. The Crimson Queen's figure flickered as she charged towards Lin Chen. Suddenly, a hair-raising sense of danger arose in the Crimson Queen's heart. This was the clearest 6th sense, and she felt a fatal danger. The Crimson Queen subconsciously retreated, not caring about her beauty array at all. Ultimate Return to Origin, Penetrating Charging Rune, and Ultimate Moment Coolness. I want to beat someone up. I'll present my invincible 8 desolate finger to all the beauties here. Lin Chen's wild laughter resounded through the sky. 8-colored chaotic energy surged out from Lin Chen's true body and all of his doppelganger and gathered on the fingertips of his arms. Lin Chen kicked away the raging flame Qilin head that had been brewing for a long time and turned into a meteor that streaked across the sky. At the same time, his doppelganger and true body put away their weapons and pointed out a finger. Boom! Boom! 5 8-colored energy fingers pierced through the sky with a monstrous power. Across the sky, the 5 8-colored energy fingers pushed the raging flame Qilin's head that was burning with fire tribulation flames, and the 10 illusionary beauties in the beauty array were terrified. When they hurriedly urged their movement techniques to retreat and escape, the Qilin's head suddenly exploded. Bang! The torrential, raging, and scorching energy rolled out an endless amount of destructive heat waves. Then the 8-colored desolate energy exploded, spreading out like an 8-colored shockwave. The energy storm lasted for nearly 100,000 zhong, shocking all the combat emperors. The power of this attack was so powerful that even a late-stage 5th-stage warrior would lose half his life if he took it head-on. Lin Chen's 4 doppelgangers seemed to have a tacit understanding as they stood in front of Lin Chen's main body. While the doppelgangers were blocking the attack, Lin Chen instantly unfurled his purple phoenix wings and transformed into a hazy moonlight shadow as he frantically retreated. Boom! 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 The heat waves that engulfed the heavens and the earth and the astonishing destructive energy waves rolled over again and again. The heat waves were nearly 30,000 feet high, and almost half of the sky above Crimson City was swallowed into a vacuum zone. Chapter 582. The Crimson Queen spat out several mouthfuls of blood. The beauty formation was a major killing move of her crimson illusion, which was formed by her spiritual origin and battle chi. If she lost any of her illusionary doppelgangers, a part of the damage would be reflected back to her real body. Her coquettish face was filled with disbelief and lingering fear. If she had not chosen to retreat at that time, she would have lost half her life by now. What's going on? Wasn't that kid under the illusion? How could he still launch such a terrifying attack? The Crimson Queen was very sure that Lin Shun was completely under the illusion at that time. Otherwise, she would not have acted so easily. But what she did not expect was that Lin Shun could still aim at her and the beauty formation in the illusion and launch such a terrifying attack. If it were any other time, she would be the master of the illusion. As long as she could sense such a terrifying attack in advance, she could dispel the beauty formation in a breath. She could avoid this loss. But at that time, she had already sensed the fatal danger and could not care about her beauty formation. I've been tricked by this kid. Oh no. The Crimson Queen's expression became gloomier. The price of taking this young man away was too high. When the energy storm dissipated, 4 of Lin Chen's clones were caught in the aftermath of the energy storm. Only one survived. Lin Chen's mood was surging. He immediately activated the illusion rune. 3 more clones appeared again and rushed into the sky. At this time, the sky was filled with attribute light balls floating in the air. Most of them were battle aura essence and spiritual power attribute light balls. Received 110 spiritual power, 105 spiritual power, 150 spiritual power, 25,800 battle aura essence, 180 spiritual power, 8,000 rune energy. Many attribute light balls were collected by Lin Chen's clones. In Lin Chen's spiritual sea, the mental bridge grew and extended crazily. Lin Chen's attack was not a coincidence. It was a killing move that he had been preparing for a long time. With the attribute pickup system, as long as there were attribute light balls around him, he would never be lost in the illusion, even if he was under a powerful illusion. And inside the Raging Flame Qilin's head was its dire beast core. The Raging Flame Qilin was a vicious beast with extremely berserk fire energy. Its violent nature made it more troublesome to deal with compared to other vicious beast cores of the same level. As a result, high-tier alchemy grandmasters would often choose vicious beast cores of other fire attributes when refining pills. However, Lin Shun had made full use of its troublesome berserk characteristic. He had been using the slowing rune to slow down the energy flow inside the Qilin head to the speed of a turtle. When the slowing rune froze the inside of the Qilin head, Lin Shun kept injecting his own fire calamity battle chi into it. The violent energy contained in the fierce beast core was already like a barrel of explosives, not to mention Lin Chen's fire calamity battle chi. Under normal circumstances, once these two energies came into contact, there would definitely be a huge explosion. But Lin Chen's slowing rune was able to temporarily calm these two energies and completely fuse them into the Kirin head. If it weren't for the fact that they had absolute confidence in their own slowing rune, no one would dare to do such a crazy thing. This was equivalent to carrying a super bomb that could injure or even cripple a 5th-level combat emperor. It was like playing with one's life. It was like playing with one's heart. Therefore, from a moment Lin Chen obtained the Raging Flame Qilin head, he had been injecting a huge amount of fire calamity battle chi into it, all for this earth-shattering attack. 5 desolate fingers and a vicious beast core that had been injected with fire calamity battle chi to the extreme. The power of the final explosion was only inferior to Lin Chen's 9 calamity star. In the end, Lin Shun had obtained 9,840 points of intermediate spiritual energy from the attribute light balls dropped by the fallen beauties in the beauty array. His mental bridge had grown to 80% of its original size. With another 20% growth, Lin Chen's spiritual energy would truly reach the connecting heaven realm. His spiritual energy would have the power to resist the tribulation of heaven and earth. Lin Shun removed the sixfold transformation. As soon as he felt weak, his battle chi exploded and formed the second nine-color battle chi fate wheel. Early second-level combat Emperor Realm. After destroying the Crimson Illusion, Beauty Array, Lin Shun had finally broken through that boundary. However, this was not Lin Chen's final goal. Even though he was at the early stage of the second realm and had the sixth realm transformation, it was still difficult for him to defeat the Scarlet Queen, who was on her home turf. Lin Chen's goal was to break through her Scarlet Illusion. Doppelgangers, defend with all your might. At this moment, Lin Chen's 4 doppelgangers were protecting him. After the breakthrough, the doppelgangers in the sixfold transformation had barely stepped into the early third-level combat Emperor Realm. The 4 doppelgangers had the strength of an early fifth-level combat Emperor. The 4 doppelgangers did not act rashly. Before the Crimson Queen had time to doubt, she saw something in Lin Chen's hand. Her beautiful face suddenly changed. A 7-colored ball of energy was flowing in the center of his palm. Lin Chen put it between his eyebrows. Boom! Terrifying spiritual energy waves swept across the entire Crimson Illusion. Is this the 7-colored holy source? This brat actually wants to break through to the reaching heaven state in front of me at this critical juncture? The Crimson Queen was shocked and angry. Her spiritual energy had reached the reaching heaven state, so it was impossible for her not to know what Lin Shun wanted to do. If he wanted to break through to the spiritual energy level in front of her, wouldn't that mean he didn't take her seriously? I like to see how arrogant you are. This time, I only want him alive, not whole. The Crimson Queen was furious that the Beauty Array couldn't take down Lin Shun. With a wave of her sleeves, more than a dozen pink energy palms pressed down. Each of them had the power to destroy mountains, rivers, and stars. They were comparable to the full strength of an early fifth-level combat Emperor. She no longer planned to capture Lin Shun in one piece. This goal was no longer realistic. She only wanted him alive. Even if he was disabled, as long as she could take down Lin Shun, his talent would become the cornerstone of her cultivation. Attack! All of Lin Chen's clones seemed to have a telepathic connection. They activated Ultimate Restoration and continued to use Ultimate Moment. They drew their bows and swords, brandished their spears and swords, and used the penetration and charge runes one after another. In the midst of flying sand and rolling pebbles, the entire city seemed to have lost its light, and the sky darkened. The two sides instantly exchanged blows. The Dragon Emperor flew to Lin Chen's side with by Juanhao and activated Black Azure Dragon Domain to protect him. This was to prevent the aftermath of the battle from affecting his cultivation. Boom! Boom! The sky shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. This terrifying aura shocked the Crimson Queen's remaining servants, the combat emperors, and other experts who had entered Crimson City to rest, and they all retreated to the side. Logically speaking, even if Lin Chen's 4 clones had the strength of an early 5th-level combat emperor, it would be difficult for them to stop the Crimson Queen, who was on her home ground. However, all of his clones were not afraid of death. As long as they had a chance to hurt the Crimson Queen, they would trade their lives for hers. The Crimson Queen did not dare to give Lin Chen this chance. The former had personally experienced his penetration rune, not to mention that she was still injured from the backlash of the Beauty Array. Chapter 583. While his doppelgangers were fighting the Crimson Queen, Lin Shun was madly circulating the Grand Beginning Bible. Although the 7-colored sacred source's pure spiritual energy was extremely vast, it didn't have any burden to absorb. Once the Grand Beginning Bible's mysteries were activated, it split into multiple spiritual energies to refine and absorb at the same time. The absorption speed was countless times faster than other experts of the same level. Lin Chen's spiritual bridge continued to climb and extend. Finally, it rushed to 90% of the way, forming an almost complete spiritual bridge. Finally, after the four doppelgangers had been defending for nearly 15 minutes, and after three of them had fallen, Lin Chen's spiritual energy suddenly rushed to a boundary point. A bridge opened in his spiritual sea, and it went straight to the nine heavens. At that moment, Lin Chen suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed with the sharpness of a spirit traveling through the nine heavens. He suddenly put his palms together, and his hand seals changed at lightning speed. Even his four doppelgangers made the same hand seals. Rumble. The vast spiritual energy condensed into 10,000 feet tall spiritual shadows, each with 3 heads and 6 arms. They were like the reincarnation of Azura, and their anger could split the sky. Oh no, this kid's spiritual energy has broken through to the heaven ascension state. The Crimson Queen's expression changed. If both of them had heaven ascension state spiritual energy, even if the other party couldn't completely break through her crimson illusion, there was still a high chance that he could tear open a crack and escape. If Lin Shan were to escape, then she would really lose everything she had invested this time. Her 10,000 years of accumulation would be severely damaged. Ultimate moment. Charging penetration rune. Azura's Fury. Lin Shan fully activated Azura's Fury. With the help of the Grand Beginning Bible and the ultimate moment, it wasn't inferior to a purple stare at all. Most importantly, Lin Shan's 4 doppelgangers were using it together with him. The torrential spiritual attack smashed thousands of miles of mountains and rivers as it attacked the Crimson Queen. Spiritual battle technique? The Crimson Queen clenched her teeth and waved her hand. Her 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and hundreds of spiritual blood moonlight blades flew out like snowflakes, raining down like a storm. Chi! Bang! Shura's wrath sliced through the many blood moonlight blades like a blade, but it was still unable to stop the attack. Crimson Queen's spiritual attack was even more powerful. However, when Lin Shan's 20% mind-piercing burst out, he barely managed to block the remaining blood moonlight blade. A chaotic mind-piercing storm suddenly exploded in the void between the two sides. The experts who were previously trapped in the illusion began to show signs of breaking free. TSK. The sound of tearing echoed in the sky, and cracks began to appear at the edge of the Crimson Illusion. The terrifying confrontation between Lin Shan and the Crimson Queen caused the Crimson Mirage to tremble. Before the chaotic spiritual storm had passed, the entire Crimson Illusion began to burn violently with blood-red flames. Lin Shan's expression turned solemn, and all the spiritual fluctuations in the illusion began to stir, igniting the formation and self-destructing the entire illusory realm. The Scarlet Empress is really generous. All of a sudden, Lin Shan released all of his clones. His dignified expression returned to its usual frivolous state as he laughed. Since your spiritual power has reached the Heaven Ascension realm, I bet that you won't die. Blood trickled down the corner of the Crimson Queen's mouth. The moment Lin Shan advanced to the Ascension realm, she already knew that her Crimson Illusion might not be able to trap him. Rather than wear him down, she might as well finish him off in one go. She wanted to detonate the entire Crimson Illusion. Its power was strong enough to threaten a 6th-level combat emperor. This was a double-edged sword. If Lin Shan died in the illusion, she would still suffer a loss. However, if Lin Shan was only seriously injured, she could capture this genius youth and use him as a cultivation foundation for her to step into the 6th or 7th-level combat emperor. This was a huge gamble. Unfortunately, cracks have appeared in the illusion. There's no time to regret it. Lin Shan put the Dragon Emperor into his body, and with a relaxed smile, he carried Bai Juanhao on his shoulder. I'll take my leave first, ha. Lin Shan waved his hand and laughed. An extremely uneasy feeling shrouded the Scarlet Empress's heart. Host activated super-dimensional teleportation, teleporting host to a saved location. Carrying life +1. Required talent points doubled. 220,000 talent points. Teleportation commencing. Swoosh. Lin Chun and Bai Juanhao disappeared in a thin air like two shadows and became transparent in an extremely short period of time. Silence. An eerie silence. All the combat emperors and the Scarlet Empress who were still rational were stunned. The Scarlet Empress, who had searched the entire Crimson Illusion but couldn't find the two of them, gradually turned pale and gloomy. No, he actually ran away? How did he escape from my Crimson Illusion? This is impossible, impossible. Shrill screams that sounded as if they had lost their parents echoed around the Scarlet City. At the eastern entrance of the Twilight Mountains, in the void, two figures descended from the sky without any warning, like two polar stars shuttling through the sky. Bai Juanhao floated in the void and fell into a daze. What? What happened? What kind of movement skill is this? Big Brother Lin Chun brought me away from the Scarlet City in an instant. Superdimensional teleportation. Consume talent points to teleport to a fixed location. The further the teleportation distance, the higher the talent points consumed, and the longer the cooldown time. The first location that Lin Chun had teleported to was the eastern entrance of the Twilight Mountains. As it required a high amount of talent points, Lin Chun didn't use this talent right away. As a result, he was trapped in the illusion and couldn't activate it. When his mental attack tore a gap in the illusion, he teleported out with Bai Juanhao. He glanced at the superdimensional teleportation that had entered a cooldown state. There were still 2 days and 23 hours before the next activation. 220,000 talent points consumed in one teleportation. That's ruthless. Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. Although the consumption of talent points had doubled because of Bai Juanhao, even if he used it alone, with Lin Chen's foundation, he wouldn't be able to withstand a few rounds of consumption. It seems that it can only be used as a life-saving trump card. However, with this super-dimensional teleportation, it won't be so easy for other experts to take Lin Chen's life. Lin Chun smiled inwardly and withdrew his gaze from the system's attribute pane. Releasing his spiritual power, Lin Chun was able to clearly sense even the slightest movement within a radius of several 100,000 miles. Lin Chun tried to activate a wisp of mental energy. Bang! A 10,000 jong tall mountain, 100,000 kilometers away from the mountain range, exploded into powder. A wisp of mental energy swept through the air with enough power to overturn rivers and shatter mountains. This was the mental energy of a heavenly ascension state. My purple gold eyes have entered the golden eyes twin realm. When Lin Chun activated his purple gold eyes again, 2 golden lotuses bloomed in Lin Chen's pupils. They were extremely beautiful and mysterious. At this moment, in Lin Chen's eyes, the scene between heaven and earth was completely different. In addition to the good luck and bad luck that wandered between heaven and earth, there were also some energy bodies with extremely strong spiritual chi fluctuations. With Lin Chen's cultivation base, even if he just absorbed a little bit of it, his strength would rapidly increase. These energy bodies came from outside the firmament tower, from the starry sky above the Jiuzhou continent. Without the strength of a Saint Realm expert, no one was qualified to approach them. However, Lin Chun was able to pry into the existence of these energy bodies with the strength of a combat emperor. In the entire Jiuzhou continent, there might not be a second person who could do so. Chapter 584. The Golden Eyes Twin is the highest realm of the Purple Golden Eyes. In the future, I will have the chance to see through my opponent's movements when I fight against a high-level combat emperor. I will be able to predict his movements and gain the upper hand. The golden lotus disappeared into the depths of his pupils. Lin Chun returned to his normal state. He had gained a lot this time. His cultivation had reached the early stage of the second-level combat emperor realm, and his mental strength had reached the heaven ascension realm. His alchemy skills had improved tremendously. He was now able to challenge the concoction of a level 7 elixir. This would play a crucial role in his next move. Big brother, where are we going next? Bai Juanhao asked excitedly. It had only been a year since they last met, but even a 5th-level combat emperor was no match for Lin Shun. How long would it take for them to return to the spiritual state? I know what you're thinking. However, I can't change the overall situation with my current strength. We have to call for help. Lin Shun smiled confidently. Bai Juanhao was confused. Call for help? Who? Call whoever's the best. Bai Juanhao. How? Concoct elixirs. Lin Shun tore the dragon jade that Long Kuan gave him. He waited at the entrance of the mountain for less than a day before they met. When he saw Long Kuan again, his aura had become terrifying. He was emitting a ferocious dragon breath, as if he was about to advance to the next level. When Bai Juanhao saw Long Kuan, he was stunned. Long Kuan admired Bai Juanhao's azure dragon bloodline, and even wanted to take him as his disciple. The 2 men and 1 dragon passed through the Afterglow mountain range. On the way, Lin Shun used the Golden Eyes twin to search for all the high-level herbs and treasures in the mountain range. With Long Kuan's help, Lin Shun obtained nearly 200 level 7 treasures of heaven and earth from the east to the west of the mountain range. With more than 10,000 level 6 herbs, he had another batch of herbs to concoct elixirs. 4 days later, they arrived at main city number 3. As long as the ferocious beasts put on the ferocious beasts special Beastmaster hoop, they would be able to enter the city. In the mission hall, Lin Shun submitted the mission he had accepted before: collect Shuro armor. Each armor costs 10,000 firmament coins. Lin Shun collected a total of 113 Shuro armors in the tomb and received 13 million firmament dollars. This terrifying number left Bai Juanhao dumbfounded. Of course, he knew the value of firmament dollars. 13 million firmament dollars could buy a huge amount of cultivation resources. With 13 million firmament dollars, Lin Shun had obtained a total of 22 storage rings from robbing and killing the combat emperors. Including the firmament dollars inside, Lin Shun had a total of 85 million firmament dollars. A huge sum of money. At this price, he could even afford the legendary purple rank high-grade cultivation technique, blue rank trial secret order, and 7th rank top-grade weapon. However, although these were very tempting, they were not what Lin Shun needed the most. He spent 3 million firmament dollars to purchase 20 Emperor Fate pills and 20 Emperor Fate Will pills. The Emperor Fate Will pill increased the chances of breaking through to the War Emperor realm by 20%. It was exclusive to the Firmament Tower and was not circulated in the outside world. Since he was about to return to spiritual state, he planned to leave these pills for Lung Yueqi, Bairuoyan, Yun Manxing, and the rest of Class 66. Becoming a martial emperor was a process of breaking through life and death. The Emperor Fate pill could save one's life. If they could not become a martial emperor, Lin Shun would rather they spend the rest of their lives at the peak of the Yuan Venerate realm than risk their lives for that illusory chance. With the remaining 800,000 firmament dollars, Lin Shun spent 750,000 firmament dollars to purchase a 7th rank mid-grade elixir recipe. This elixir recipe was very obscure. It was originally worth 1 million firmament dollars, but for some reason, it had been reduced time and time again. However, it was very useful to Lin Shun. After doing all this, Lin Shun, Long Kuan, and Bai Juanhao teleported out of the tower from city number 3. Big brother, you want me to bring these elixirs back to Tianzhou? Outside the Firmament Tower, in the void near Baiyu City, Bai Juanhao looked solemn as he took the storage rings that contained more than 10 Emperor Fate pills and Emperor Fate Will pills. That's right. Bring these elixirs back to Class 66. Tell them that unless they become martial emperors, they're not allowed to enter the spiritual state unless they can win the war. Otherwise, they will never be allowed to enter the spiritual state unless they become martial emperors. Lin Shun instructed seriously. He also gave Bai Juanhao the Azure Aurora ring that the vice principal had given him. This item was a secret treasure that could unleash the full power of a late 2nd-level combat emperor. After Lin Shun became a combat emperor, this item was useless to him. Lin Shun had already used it once, so there were 2 more uses left. it was still very useful to buy Ju and Hao. My doppelganger will escort you back. However, just in case, you still have to bring it along. After Lin Chun handed over the Azure Aurora ring, he created a doppelganger. This time, the journey to escort by Ju and Hao was a little long. Lin Chun could not let his doppelganger maintain the ultimate moment and six-fold transformation for the entire journey. Therefore, Lin Chen's doppelganger's true strength was only at the peak of the third-level combat emperor. If he encountered a fourth-level combat emperor, he could only provide cover fire. After disguising the doppelganger's appearance, Bai Juanhao thanked Lin Chun with a heavy heart. Then, he disappeared into the void with his doppelganger. Kid, where are we going next? Long Kun, who had shrunk his body to a size of a few dozen feet, asked. Wherever there are more experts, that's where we will go. 5 days later, in the Yang family of the Dan state. Today, the Yang family welcomed some important guests. They were the Grand Elders from the Han family and the other two super alchemy families. In the secret chamber of the Yang family, the patriarch of the Yang family, two Grand Elders, and Yang Qinger were sitting on the side. Their eyes were filled with curiosity as they stared at the silver-robed young man sitting opposite of them. The three alchemy giants beside them were the three Grand Elders who hosted the Peak Elixir gathering the other day. When they heard Lin Chen's request, they were shocked. You want to issue an order? Summon all the experts in the 9 prefectures? Lin Chen picked up a precious fruit and took a bite. He smiled and nodded. Yes, with your reputations in the Dan state, if you issue this order on my behalf, it will naturally be the best. With his status as the champion of the Peak Elixir gathering, if he wanted to go out and refine medicine and summon experts, he would naturally attract a lot of experts. However, the problem was, you want to summon experts? Could it be related to the families of the descendants of God? At this moment, the Grand Elder Han Ming from the Super Family asked while stroking his beard. When it came to this question, the atmosphere in the secret chamber became tense. If Lin Shan wanted to find people to find trouble with the families of the descendants of God, there would not be many experts in the 9 prefectures who would dare to come. Lin Shan, who was biting the fruit, shook his head and laughed. I'm so handsome, so I'm definitely not that stupid. I will personally fight with those fake God families step by step. The patriarch of the Yang family and the Grand Elders raised their eyebrows. The expressions of the other 2 alchemy giants also changed slightly. In the 9 prefectures continent, there was actually someone who dared to call the families of the descendants of God as fake God families. This young man was indeed terrifying. Han Yuanfang of the Han family frowned and asked, Oh, then what is your purpose? Go back to the spiritual state with me and fight against the ancient families of the spiritual state. With your information network, I'm sure you know about the war between the ancient families of the spiritual state. Lin Chun smiled, and the others heaved sighs of relief. At least, he was not going to provoke the families of the descendants of God. Otherwise, the families that they helped issue the order would also be implicated. Then what is the order? Han Ming stroked his beard and asked with a smile. Chapter 585. Lin Chun stretched out his finger. It's simple. You must be at least a 4th-layer combat emperor. I don't want ugly people. I only want people who can fight. There is no limit to the number of people. I will take as many as you want. The reward is that I will give each of you a chance to refine elixirs for free. Of course, the reward will be based on your cultivation and contribution. I can accept any elixirs below the 7th level. Of course, you must prepare your own elixirs and ingredients. I am only responsible for refining the elixirs. Rumble. Violent waves of mental energy filled the secret room. The 3 alchemists almost couldn't control their mental energy. They stood up abruptly and looked at Lin Chun in disbelief. Your alchemy skills have reached the 7th level of high-grade alchemy? Lin Chun smiled. I like to show off and boast, but I don't like to boast. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Chun released a wisp of mental energy that was as vast as the abyss and shrouded the secret room. The 3 old men's bodies shook. They couldn't be wrong about this mental energy. Compared to them, it was not far from it. The true mental energy of the reaching heaven realm. At this moment, everyone in the secret room looked at each other in amazement and shock. It was very exciting. A 21-year-old 7th-level alchemy grandmaster. In the entire Jojo continent, there were less than 10 7th-level alchemists. Almost all of them were old monsters who had lived in seclusion during the ancient times. At the age of 21, he had reached a height that others couldn't reach in 20,000 or even 100,000 years. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it. Wait a minute. Lin Shun. When Han Ming followed Lin Chen's mental energy to check his aura, he found that he couldn't detect his battle chi cultivation. The corner of his mouth twitched. That day at the peak elixir meeting, they could easily see through Lin Chen's cultivation. But now, they could only see a web of fire that intertwined like fire dragons. They couldn't see through Lin Chen's cultivation. Could he be a combat emperor? A 21-year-old 7th-level alchemist, who was also a combat emperor, was he still a human? No wonder he dared to sit here and issue a summons. He did have the power to shake the chaotic situation in the spiritual state. Not even a year had passed since the Peak Pill Assembly, and the current him was already a War Emperor realm expert. In the face of all the experts present, he was completely calm and collected, as if nothing had happened. If it's a high-rank 7 alchemist, I'm afraid that even those old fellows will come into being. TSK. A chance to refine a pill for free. Those old monsters won't miss this opportunity. After a long time, the 3 giant alchemists calmed down and shook their heads while laughing. After that, they accepted the request to issue the summons. They wanted to be on good terms with the most monstrous genius in the history of the 9 prefectures. However, they could not directly participate in this matter. There was an unwritten rule between the 9 great provinces. The various ancient families could not interfere in the matters of the other great provinces. If they were exposed, it was very likely that a great war would break out. The pharmacist families in the Danzhou state used their private connections and released an earth-shattering news that swept across the 8 states, except for the spiritual state, in a very short time. A super-giant alchemist had appeared and was summoning all the experts. Get a chance to refine a pill for free. You can refine any pill below the peak of level 7. Prepare the ingredients yourself. Time limit, 2 months. Gathering place, Danzhou State's Yang family. Are you leaving so soon? Prince Lin Shun, aren't you going to stay for a while? In the backyard of the Yang family, Yang Qing'er could not help but call out to Lin Shun, who was flying into the air. Thank you for your kindness, Miss Qing'er. I still have some matters to attend to. See you next time. Lin Shun cupped his fists and smiled. Before he left with Long Kuan, Yang Qing'er's unique and gentle voice reached Lin Chen's ears. I will also go to the spiritual state. When the beauty sent a voice transmission with a hint of stubbornness, Lin Chen shook his head and laughed. Then I will take you to see the scenery of the spiritual state next time. Only the spiritual state has this scenery. 10 days later, in the Far East region of the Divine Land. The Far East region was the most prosperous region in the Divine Land. It was said that this region was protected by the gods, and those who were inclined to the gods could receive the gods' blessings. The Far East region was divided into 6 regions, and they were controlled by the 6 god families. Today, in the Hun family's territory, which was usually the most low-key, Dragon Cloud City welcomed a joyous event. A peerless beauty from the bright state had received the gods' favor and blessings. She was fortunate enough to become the god's concubine and obtain the god's ascension. In Dragon Cloud City, it was as if the whole world was celebrating and countless citizens were celebrating. The true God Mountain in Dragon Cloud City was so tall that the peak could not be seen. There was a faint pressure that seemed to be able to suppress all eternity. Countless people surged at the foot of the mountain, and they were cheering excitedly. In a corner at the foot of the mountain, a silver-robed youth with a restrained temperament had an ordinary appearance. However, there was a hint of dominance between his brows, and he seemed to be somewhat unique. He stood at the foot of the mountain and looked up at the statues on the true God mountain. There were hundreds of statues of beauties, and each of them had their own merits, and they were vivid and lifelike. Every statue was like a living, peerless beauty. They either revealed a painful and tormented expression, or a face of despair, or a face of mournful malevolence. Their beautiful faces were distorted to the point that their facial features could not be seen clearly. All these scenes had been sealed up here for eternity, and the statues had lost all vitality. They were like withered roses that were in full bloom, and the despair before withering was depicted between their brows. Yin Qingxue from the Bright State, the newcomer has arrived. Thank you for the true God's gift. Thank you for the true God's favor. A huge palanquin with a red curtain started to advance towards the true God mountain from several tens of thousands of miles away. Everywhere it passed, it received the cheers and blessings of countless people. Today is the day when the true God's blessings descend again. I'm so happy. I'm so envious of that big sister. She was able to ascend and become the God's concubine, and be able to serve the supreme, true God. Hee. Little girl, work hard on your cultivation. Perhaps we will also have a chance in the future. Senior sister, why do those women who have been blessed by the true God look like they are in pain before they ascend? That's just an illusion. It's because all the negative emotions left behind when they were getting rid of their mortal bodies are sealed up on the true God mountain. Ah, so happy. Countless people at the foot of the true God mountain surged. Tens of thousands of talented women stared straight at the palanquin. They yearned for it, and in their hearts, they were determined to be blessed by the true God. However, what everyone could see was that the beautiful woman in the palanquin had her battle chi sealed up, and her expression was full of fear and despair. I don't want to become the true God's concubine. I only want to decide my own life. Why did you forcibly tie me up here? Father, grandfather, why? No matter how she called out, her voice could not be transmitted out of the palanquin. Her family and clansmen all had gratified smiles on their faces. Below the palanquin, there was a sea of people, and all of them were looking at her with incomparable envy and reverence. When this scene was reflected in Yun Qingshue's eyes, she was both desperate and terrified. In her eyes, those faces that were full of reverence and envy looked both eerie and strange. Chapter 586. The silver-robed young man who was standing at the edge of the mountains saw all of this. His seemingly indifferent eyes were actually brewing a monstrous rage that was about to erupt, carving living people into statues and embedding them into the statues step by step, facing death step by step, torturing people on the verge of death, and then turning them into objects. This is not something a human can do. Why are countless people cheering and worshiping? What kind of bullsh asterisk T God is this? The silver-robed young man was naturally Lin Chun in disguise. After he arrived at the Far East region, he spent 3 days searching for the location of the sacred tablet of the sacred tablet of the sacred tablet. As for the specific location, he locked onto the area outside of the Hun family. But coincidentally, he ran into the Hun family's happy event today. He recalled that the fake god servant he killed in the Ning family was also from the Hun family. Then, the fake god that was related to the Ning family and wanted to take away Ning Qingxian was also from the Hun family. What Yin Qingxue was going through now was the result that Ning Qingxian would have to face in the future. Lin Chun, who had personally come to the easternmost region, knew just how terrifying this region was. Trillions of creatures were all fake God believers. They did not believe in heaven or earth. They only believed that the true God created heaven and earth, and that the true God had eternal life. Those who did not believe in gods were treacherous people. Billions of people were watching a woman being pushed into the abyss of death with their own eyes. Everyone smiled, and no one felt anything strange. What ascension! What true God's blessing! All of it was bullsh asterisk T. Lin Chun had heard of the true God's blessing ceremony of the other 5 families. Some of them required little girls to be sacrificed, and some of them used the ceremony of splitting the body as an ascension ceremony. What's more, a certain family of pseudo-gods even asked a middle-aged man of the same sex or older to ascend to death in a ceremony. The scene was disgusting, but in the eyes of the people in the easternmost region, it was extremely normal. As for the Hun family, they sealed themselves in the secular world and left everything behind in the mortal world to ascend to the true God's world. It was as if everyone here had been reduced to playthings in the hands of the false gods who had escaped from the 19 levels of the holy world. It would not be an exaggeration to call such a world hell on earth. From the looks of it, it was as if the true God in their hearts told them to immediately die without hesitation. If no one can stop those fake gods, perhaps the future Jojo continent will become a real purgatory in the hands of these fake gods. His pupils contracted, and his killing intent surged. In Lin Chen's heart, he had never felt such extreme anger. He didn't need any responsibilities or burdens. Right now, he just wanted to hammer all those inhumane false gods to death. Today is such a good day, but you're actually angry. It seems like you're not a native of the easternmost region. A cry of surprise came from behind Lin Chen. The short-haired beauty slowly walked over. Her appearance was outstanding. She wore silver armor and had a heroic bearing. Between her brows, there was a kind of heroic beauty, like a blooming rose. Withdrawing his killing intent, Lin Chen became unperturbed. He turned to look at her. That's right. I'm a wandering cultivator who's traveling around. May I know who you are? Wandering cultivator? If you don't have enough mental fortitude for the upcoming ceremony, I advise you not to watch it. The short-haired lady shook her head as a purple-gold glow flashed across her eyes. Lin Chen squinted. This lady's innate talent was very high. She was even stronger than ordinary descendants of the fake gods. She was already a 9th-level Yuan Venerate before the age of 100. Why do you say that, miss? Is there something wrong with the ceremony? Lin Chen feigned ignorance and asked. The Jojo continent is finished. Look at these apathetic people. For the sake of the so-called true God's favor and belief in the true God, they're even willing to abandon their humanity. The silver-armored lady sighed self-deprecatingly and turned to look at the sculpture on the true God mountain in a daze. If everyone becomes a lackey of the true God and abandons their humanity, becoming a plaything in their palms, what hope is there left in this world? Wouldn't such a world be hell? It's precisely because of this that someone needs to change, Lin Chen suddenly said. Change? How? What can one person do? Those who know the truth are pretending to be asleep, while those who understand the truth are lowering their heads and blindfolding themselves to become the true God's lackeys. Our opponents are far beyond our knowledge. They can crush countless war emperors with a single finger. It's useless. The collapse of this world is a foregone conclusion. They have already come to our world. Unless the almighties of the sacred boundary take action, we can't escape. The heroic silver-armored lady revealed a hint of despair. Lin Chen frowned. At this moment, the palanquin had already arrived in front of the true God Mountain. The ceremony had officially begun. The palanquin stopped in front of the true God Mountain. Yun Qingxue was forcefully escorted to the true God's favor stage by 2 false god servants. On the favor stage, a few false god servants and an elder of the Hun family pushed out a simple iron coffin. There was a circular groove at the top for the head to be placed in. Iron chains were intertwined on both sides of the iron coffin. The 2 sides of the iron coffin had more than a dozen sharp iron spikes. The iron spikes were circulating with light, as if they had some kind of magical power that attracted the attention of countless people. The appearance of this iron coffin terrified Yun Qingxue. She tried to retreat, but the 2 false god servants held her down so tightly that she couldn't move. No, don't. Yun Qingxue kept shaking her head. Her delicate body trembled violently. Her white teeth bit her bloodless lips. When tears streamed down her cheeks, no one could hear her sobbing. At this moment, above the endless void outside of the 9 prefectures in the starry sky. On a divine mountain, a phantom appeared. Its gaze was fixed on the direction of the 9 prefectures' continent's far east region. This is the expression. This is the despair. This is something that can't be seen in the holy prison. Yinqing Xue, right? Ha ha ha. More despair, more pain. You will become a unique work of art in this world. You will become my masterpiece. The phantom no longer had the awe-inspiring and upright aura of the past. It only had an almost crazy excitement and fanaticism, as well as a completely distorted voice and face. Whoosh! Seeing the iron coffin appear, billions of creatures at the foot of the true God mountain cheered and celebrated. The true God's favor. As long as one entered the iron coffin, they could transcend the mortal world and leave all worldly things in the world. They could fly out of the 9 prefectures and become a part of the true God's side. Yinqing Xue was pushed into the iron coffin. Then, the fake God servant used iron chains to lock her limbs. Her entire body was bound in the iron coffin. When the iron coffin's 2 doors closed, the spikes would pierce her body. Step by step, she would feel death and taste despair. When the doors finally closed completely, she would become a living statue. She would forever remain in this world in the most desperate and helpless state. An elder of the Hun family slowly stood up and recited the opening speech of the ceremony. We are grateful to the true God. We are sincere in our hearts. Today, another lucky person has become the luckiest person in the 9 prefectures. It is our honor to be blessed by the true God. Yinqing Xue, who was in the iron coffin, could only sob silently. She seemed to have foreseen the final result of her life. You said that this world can't be changed. Is it because they came, but the sacred boundary didn't save the 9 prefectures? Suddenly, Lin Chen opened his mouth. The silver-armored woman was stunned. She stared at his back. If you feel that the 9 prefectures are lacking, you can change it. Start with yourself. Start with your side. If enemies break in, do everything you can to drive them away. Instead of only knowing how to sigh, complain, and escape from reality by placing their hopes elsewhere. There's nothing that can be changed without effort. The young man's deep voice was sonorous and powerful. Where you stand is the godly land. Whatever you do, the godly land will be. If you are bright, the godly land will always have a trace of light. If the people of the godly land and the 9 prefectures are all righteous and united, these demons and monsters who only dare to hide in the dark won't be able to do whatever they want in the 9 prefectures. The silver-armored woman stared at the young man's back and said self-mockingly, "Who doesn't know how to say beautiful words? How can you do it?" The young man tore off his disguise mask. A younger and fiercer side profile appeared in front of the silver-armored woman. He looked back at the silver-armored woman and said, "Even a firefly can shine in the darkness. There is no need to wait for the torch." The silver-armored woman was shocked when she saw his true face. "You are Lin of the spirit state." The silver-armored woman didn't finish her sentence. Lin Shun ignored her and walked toward the true God Mountain. His eyes were deep, and his tone was calm. "If there is no torch in the 9 prefectures, we will be the only light." With that, Lin Shun leaped into the air. Bang! The ground under his feet shattered. The purple phoenix wings spread across the sky. In the void, the purple wings flapped. The young man in a silver robe was reflected in the eyes of billions of people. He raised his hand, clenched his fist, and punched the true God Mountain. Chapter 587. The green dragon's possession added 4 million dragon energy points to his body like an erupting volcano. The power of his punch turned into thousands of dragons and hit the true God Mountain. Bang! Rumble! A violent explosion rang out, and the true God Mountain shone with a resplendent brilliance, tightly protecting the mountain. However, Lin Chen's speed was so fast that no one could react in time. Although true God Mountain did not activate its defensive array and protected the mountain, Lin Chen's penetration Rune allowed 20% of his punch's power to pass through True God Mountain, shattering all of the female sculptures. At this moment, the millions of people in the easternmost region of the Divine Land were stunned. The elders and false god servants of the Hun family were also stunned. Where did this arrogant kid come from? How could he shatter the statues of the True God Mountain with one punch? The five-color dragon energy circled around, and the war spear flashed in his hand. Lin Shun suddenly activated the quintuple transformation in the ultimate moment. His cultivation level temporarily reached the late stage of the second stage. In the next moment, the combat emperor elders and false god servants of the Hun family finally reacted when they saw him taking out his spear and sensing Lin Shen's skyrocketing aura. They were enraged and furious. Where did this rascal come from? How dare he offend the divine power? How dare you attack the True God Mountain? You're asking for death. All the experts were instantly enraged. There were 3 who were at the 5th level of the War Emperor realm and above, and they all charged towards Lin Shun. Swoosh, 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 bang, bang. The moonlight flashed, and 3 figures appeared like ghosts. They blasted away the combat emperors who were trying to get close to Lin Shun. The moment they were pushed back, Lin Shun attacked. Fighting Emperor 78 style, moon-splitting galaxy. He swung his spear, and a huge moonlight appeared. It struck the True God Mountain like lightning. The light that protected the True God Mountain suddenly exploded, and the moonlight that pierced the sky was split into 2. Rumble. The True God Mountain was split into 2. At this moment, the situation changed, and the millions of people in the Divine Land were furious. Where did this disrespectful person come from? How dare he blaspheme the divine power? Die. This person must die. True God Mountain is a miracle. How can it allow mortals to invade? Countless curses and angry roars resounded through the sky. Streaks of light flew out as countless heavenly dipper martialists and Yuan venerates flew out of the crowd. They didn't care about Lin Chen's strength at all. They just wanted to kill Lin Shun. The silver-armored woman's face turned pale as she looked at the surging tide of people. Could it be that he wasn't afraid of death? Could it be that he wanted to challenge the might of the heavens? Didn't he know that he would be hunted down by the tens of billions of believers of God in the far eastern region of the Divine Land? True God Mountain was in an uproar, but the silver-armored woman inexplicably recalled his words. If there is no torch in 9 regions, we will be the only light. Chi! A tearing sound came from the sky. After the True Deity Mountain cracked open, a furious and cold scolding sound came from the sky to the bottom of the True Deity Mountain. Mortal, how dare you offend me? This voice completely frightened all the living beings present. A true god of the Hun family. This was the voice of the true god behind the Hun family. Everyone's hearts trembled. Could it be that the true god's anger was about to descend upon the 9 regions continent? Great true god, please calm down. It's over. How can we, mere mortals, withstand the anger of a true god? Countless people knelt on the ground and wailed. Lin Shun held the spear with one hand and pointed it at the sky. F***CK off. What kind of god are you? You're just a fake god. Why are you pretending to be a wolf with a big tail? You deceive the world to gain fame. If you're not convinced, come out and fight with us if you have the guts. If I frown today, I will King change my surname to yours. If you don't dare to show yourself, you are trash. This scolding made countless powerhouses suck in a cold breath. Where did this lunatic come from? He actually dared to challenge the might of a true god. Even the true god had spoken, yet he still dared to scold a true god? Since the true god had spoken, no one dared to act rashly. They were afraid of angering this great true god. I don't need to do anything to deal with an ant like you. Mere mortal. Mortal my ass. What are you pretending for? Come and hit me if you have the guts. Lin Shun interrupted the fake god's speech and showed his middle finger to express his stance. You piece of **T. How dare you call yourself a true god just because you hide in the dark? My name is Lin Itchy Skin today. Come on, Come nf asterisk ck me. You mother f asterisk her. You are just a piece of sh asterisk t. A piece of sh asterisk t that escaped from the prison at the sacred boundary. Still pretending to be a true god? What are you pretending for? You don't even look like a man when you pretend to be a true god. Everyone sucked in a few breaths of cold air, especially those battle emperors who were hiding in the depths and came from outside the divine land. They felt their scalps go numb. What kind of big shot was this? He split the true god mountain the moment he appeared and even scolded this fake true god in front of countless fake true gods. Boom! In the void of millions of miles in the easternmost region, the wind and clouds were turbulent. Blood clouds surged and exploded as if some apocalyptic natural disaster was about to descend on the true God Mountain. Lin Shen's words of a piece of sh asterisk t that escaped from the prison at the sacred boundary seemed to have angered the fake true god. Is the coward going to poke his head out? Lin Shen's face was full of mockery and calmness. Just as a certain aura was about to descend on the 9 prefectures, some regions of the vast 9 prefectures began to throb. The remaining world, suppressing sacred steels, began to emit endless sacred light that would shine for eternity. Just as the aura was about to descend on the divine land, it suddenly shrank back. Those saints who had fallen, and those who had been praised for eternity, even after death, their wills were still protecting this continent. What's wrong? You don't dare? A piece of trash who can't even show himself. What qualifications does he have to call himself a true god? Lin Shun roared thunderously and waved his fist angrily. He punched the bottom of the true God Mountain again. The wind for his fist turned into a shockwave that exploded on the blessing stage. It overturned many fake true god servants and the war emperor realm elders of the Hun family and sent them flying to the side. The inhumane iron cabinet shattered into pieces. Yun Xingxue was affected by the wind from his fist, but her battle chi seal was torn apart. She could use battle chi again. Let's go. Lin Shen's voice came from afar. Yun Xingxue's beautiful eyes flickered as she regained her vitality. She immediately understood and took advantage of the chaos to escape. At this moment, everyone's attention was attracted by Lin Shen. No one paid attention to Yun Xingxue at all. Did you see clearly? Your so-called true god can't even show himself. How can he create and destroy the world? The 9 prefectures is the land that our 100 saints and ancestors protected. It is the land that our countless ancestors defended with their flesh and blood. Why should we believe in these fake true gods of unknown origins? Lin Shen roared. Facing hundreds of millions of people of the divine land and tens of thousands of experts, he was arrogant and fearless. Lin Shen saw the numb and murderous expressions around him. He frowned. These guys were used to being a group of dogs that wagged their tails and begged for mercy. It was very difficult to turn them back into humans. Chapter 588. However, Lin Shun had already achieved his objective on this trip. Now, he was not qualified to challenge the Hun family. Even if he used the God Slayer, he might not be able to uproot the Hun family. Moreover, the God Slayer was his trump card when he returned to the spiritual state. He would not use it here easily, because his reaching heaven realm mind power had sensed that a true master was on the move. Mortal who misled the public with his lies, I don't need to do anything to deal with you. At this moment, the Hun family's fake god's hoarse voice was heard again, causing the space crystal walls to distort. If you can't show yourself, just say it. Why are you pretending to be a wolf? You don't even dare to fart when I split your godly mountain. How dare you call yourself a true god? Lin Shen looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. The Hun family's fake god's voice had a tinge of anger. Today, you have offended my godly prestige. Hundreds of clans will be punished. My godly prestige is inviolable. Rumble. Bang. 2 auras appeared from 100,000 miles away. They were 2 6th-level combat emperors. With the activation of the Golden Eyes twin, Lin Shun sensed that a few powerful battle auras were gradually awakening from 1,000,000 miles away. They came from the Hun family. They were at least 7th level combat emperors. They might even be 8th level combat emperors. Unless Lin Shun used the God Slayer and Sovereign's Descent, it would be difficult for him to have a third method to deal with such a master. Fake God. Remember your grandfather's name, Lin Shun. At this moment, Lin Shun laughed heartily. Some masters could not help but be shocked. This kid dared to reveal his name? Was he not afraid of the Hun family's crazy attack? Billions of fake gods followers were even more shocked. They were too familiar with this name. Lin Shun, the young man who once specialized in killing the descendants of gods. It was him. The person who destroyed the true God Mountain today was a young man who was only a Yuan Venerate less than a year ago. Wasn't he a Yuan Venerate before? How long has it been? Even a late-stage 4th-level combat emperor was defeated by his clone. I just realized that this kid is too young. He is only 21 years old, right? A 21-year-old combat emperor. Even the descendants of the gods had never reached such heights. It has never appeared in the history of the 9 prefectures. The Hun family has offended a terrifying existence. However, is there something wrong with this kid's head? Could it be that he wanted to rely on his current strength to break through the encirclement of the Hun family? Potential and combat strength are two completely different things. The combat emperors from all over the 9 continents were secretly shocked. As the space distorted, 2 figures appeared above Lin Chen's head like ghosts. Capture him for me, dead or alive. The cold voice of the Hun family's fake god sounded from the sky. TSK. 2 blazing and swift bolts of light shot out like venomous snakes, fiercely twisting towards Lin Chen's surroundings. Rip. His figure drew a half-moon arc. As the faint moonlight flowed, he dodged the 2 attacks in advance. The blazing flame split the ground. 8 desolate finger. Lin Shun and his clone kept their weapons and pointed their fingers. The heavenly calamity battle chi transformed into 8 colored desolate energy fingers and pushed them forward. For sections of desolate energy fingers condensed terrifying pure energy and world-destroying desolate energy and struck the 2 figures, rolling up a world-destroying chaotic energy storm. It began to expand continuously. The penetrating characteristic further increased the power. Lin Shin did not want to continue fighting. The 2 people who suddenly appeared were at least 6th level combat emperors. This 8 desolate finger was just a delay time. He activated his innate skill pain and issued an order. System, activate superdimensional teleportation. Just as Lin Shun was about to activate the superdimensional teleportation to leave, the system popped up a screen. In the midst of the raging energy storm, an aura quietly died. Host has activated the Emperor Slayer innate skill. Target life form has been insta-killed. Congratulations to the host for triggering a special reward mechanism. You are rewarded with 1 orange crystal treasure chest. An orange light pillar bloomed in the energy storm. Lin Shun was stunned. Insta-killed? Lin Shun, actually insta-killed a 6th level combat emperor? At that time, Long Qi had fought until the sky turned dark. He had to use all his skills to kill him. The most important thing was the 2nd orange crystal treasure chest. It actually appeared at this critical moment and even triggered the insta-kill mechanism of the Emperor Slayer. One had to know that Lin Shen's 1st orange crystal treasure chest had directly opened the complete God Slayer innate skill. A treasure chest of this level was simply something that could only be encountered by chance. Damn, this is an unexpected surprise. Let's go all out. Lin Shun gritted his teeth fiercely. His purple-golden eyes flashed. A few 7th level combat emperors and above from the Hun family had already begun to move. He did not have time to wait. Lin Shun activated the 1,000 Mountains armor. When he activated the gold silk silver emperor armor, he activated a defensive barrier and rushed into the chaotic energy storm. 8 waves of desolate energy formed a huge energy wave that rushed over. Lin Chen's chi and blood churned, causing him to feel dizzy. The aftermath of this energy wave was too terrifying. Even a late 5th level combat emperor would be in mortal danger if they barged in. Lin Chen rushed in forcefully. He flapped his purple phoenix wings continuously and took away the huge amount of attribute light balls left behind by the 6th level combat emperor, who was insta-killed by the Emperor Slayer innate skill, as well as the storage ring that was about to shatter. Finally, Lin Chen rushed towards the orange light pillar. When he grabbed the orange crystal treasure chest in the orange light pillar, Lin Chen did not have the time to check what he had obtained. A remnant light flashed past the vacuum behind him. It was the other 6th level combat emperor from before. Although I don't know why you barged in and how you killed Han Ming, you have angered a god today. You will die without a doubt. The 6th level combat emperor's eyes revealed an ominous glint. He was not afraid that Lin Chen had insta-killed a combat emperor who was at the same level as him. He threw a punch at Lin Chen. These combat emperors were all men of sacrifice trained by the Han family's false god. They would not hesitate to die for the true God in their hearts. Lin Chen's expression changed slightly. He turned around abruptly, raised his hand, and punched back. The two fists collided with a loud bang. Bang! Rumble! Crack! Crack! The crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard. The bones in Lin Chen's right arm were shattered. Fortunately, his flesh shell was tough and did not shatter immediately. The opponent's combat chi fist wind was like a twisting dragon, twisting into Lin Chen's body and crushing his 1,000 mountain Xian armor. In the end, most of the force was blocked by the gold silk silver emperor armor. Even so, the remaining force of the attack still made Lin Chen spit out a mouthful of blood. At the moment when he threw out his fist, he had activated his super-dimensional teleportation innate skill, consumed 170,000 innate skill. Activating super-dimensional teleportation innate skill, sending the host to the first fixed spatial location. A strand of spatial divine light flashed and extinguished, and then Lin Chen's entire body suddenly vanished. The combat emperor who threw out his fist was stunned on the spot. What kind of movement skill was that? What kind of secret manual was that? How did he disappear without any warning? There was no aura or trace left behind. Even the combat emperor had never heard of it. Rip. For illusory figures tore through the void and appeared. When they arrived, the heaven and earth cracked open like giant pythons. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 589. For silhouettes suddenly appeared. Their auras covered the sky and the earth, giving off an oppressive feeling that could suppress a group of emperors. They were the combat emperors of the Han family. 2 7th-level combat emperors and 2 8th-level combat emperors. 2 of the 8th-level combat emperors flicked their sleeves and grabbed with one hand. The energy storm caused by Lin Chen's 8 desolate finger was swallowed by a whirlpool of energy and turned into nothingness in 2 breaths' time. This kind of method caused the combat emperors to tremble in fear. Where is he? Han Long, what are you doing? Where's the kid who offended the god? The 2 8th-level combat emperors scolded the remaining 6th-level combat emperor. The latter's body trembled and he cupped his fists. I don't know. I just exchanged a punch with that kid and he disappeared. Just as the 2 8th-level combat emperors were about to condemn him, the cold voice came from the sky again. Enough. That person has escaped. You can't catch up with him. Hearing the voice of the fake god of the Han family, the elder of the Han family trembled. He bowed respectfully and said, "May the true god be appeased. Issue an arrest warrant. Those who offend the god must die." With a simple sentence, the cold voice slowly faded away. The eyes of the elders of the Han family suddenly became extremely sharp. As for those who had gathered here and managed to get a seat to watch the ceremony, their hearts were filled with shock. Lin Chen of the spirit state. He broke into the ceremony of the true god of the Han family. Not only did he split the true god mountain, he also offended the god and scolded the true god. Even though he was an enemy, everyone in the easternmost region felt a deep sense of uneasiness. After the people of the Han family left, the silver-armored lady stared blankly at the true God mountain that was split into two halves. The young man's words echoed in her heart, causing ripples in her heart. After being lost in thought for a moment, the silver-armored lady turned around and walked towards the white-robed elder. Seventh elder, I want to enter the secret realm of the life and death trial. The white-robed elder's expression froze, and he said involuntarily, Young lady, that is a secret realm that only combat emperors can enter. It doesn't matter. If I fail to break through to the combat emperor realm, I'll still die. Rather than that, I might as well give it my all. The silver-armored woman's expression was calm, as if she didn't care about life or death. Before leaving True God Mountain, she turned around and looked in the direction Lin Chun had disappeared. I wonder if I could be like you and become a firefly. Kid, are you all right? It's nothing. I just exchanged a punch with a 6th-level combat emperor. Damn, a 6th-level combat emperor is really something. In a deep abyss, Long Kuin's shrunken dragon body was revealed. It was lying at the bottom of the abyss, and beside it was Lin Chun, who was covered in injuries. This was the location that Lin Chun had found and used the super-dimensional teleportation point in advance. It was very close to the location of the sacred monument of Imperial God, Xianlong number 47. It was located at the border of the Han family's territory. Right. Have those fellows made a move yet? Lin Chun asked as he withdrew a jade bottle from his spatial ring. Yes, all of them have moved out. However, it seems that they haven't left this area yet. We need to wait for a while before we move out. All right, I'll heal my injuries first. Lin Chun sat cross-legged and swallowed a 7th-level low-grade medicinal pill to heal his injuries. He even activated the ultimate moment to circulate the wood spirit essence technique, temporarily increasing the efficiency and speed of his healing. A few hours later, Lin Chun opened his eyes and a strong vitality was revealed from his body. Phew! Luckily, I had concocted a backup medicinal pill when I was rushing back to Dan Province. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it in time. Even if he had the life growth talent and the wood spirit essence technique, what Lin Chun lacked the most right now was time. If he was delayed in healing his injuries, all his efforts would have been in vain. Lin Chun wasn't foolishly going to True God Mountain to cause trouble. He purposely went there to attract the attention of the enemies. His goal was to force out all the hidden experts of the Han family. This was because the world-suppressing Sacred Steel 47 was guarded by the experts of the Han family. Although they couldn't enter the Sacred Steel, they didn't plan to give it to outsiders. If Lin Chun forced his way in, the experts of the Han family might not be able to escape. However, if it was an ordinary matter, those 7th-level combat emperors and above wouldn't easily come out of seclusion. However, if the legendary blessing ceremony was destroyed, they wouldn't be afraid that they wouldn't come out of seclusion. This method was akin to walking on the tip of a blade. Even the sky would be pierced through. This was because the overall strength of the Han family was many times stronger than any of the false god families. Their foundation was the strongest in the eastern region of the Divine Continent. If it was a one-on-one battle, no family could be compared to the Han family. It had even forced the false god hiding behind the Han family to show himself, using his existence to mobilize the top experts of the Han family. Lin Chun would be able to sneak into the Sacred Steel once they were far away from this place. Not enough. These guys are very cautious. They think that I haven't gone far and are still conducting a thorough search. I guess I still need to wait for a while. With the activation of the Golden Pupil's twin, Lin Chun clearly saw the situation of the Han family. At this moment, the outside world was in an uproar. There were already more than 13 7th-level combat emperors and 5 8th-level combat emperors searching for Lin Chun, not to mention the 6th and 5th-level combat emperors. 13 7th-level combat emperors and 5 8th-level combat emperors. What kind of lineup was this? Lin Chun and Long Kuin wouldn't be able to escape from any of them. This showed how big of a trouble Lin Chun had gotten himself into. It was equivalent to throwing a bomb into the deep sea and blowing up the head of the fish in the deep sea. All the piranhas were blown up and scrambled to jump out. After a period of time, the name Lin Shun would be known throughout the 9 prefectures. The Hun family had always kept a low profile. Hence, they didn't reveal their background. This time, the outside world knew how terrifying the background of the Hun family was. TSK, TSK, TSK. If this was in my era, this group of experts would be strong enough. Kid, what did you do to blow up all these old foxes? Long Kuan clicked his tongue in wonder and turned to ask Lin Shun. He shrugged his shoulders. It's nothing serious. I just pointed my middle finger at that false god and casually chopped his mountain. Casually chopped a mountain? If the elders of the Hun family heard this, they would be so angry that they would shit themselves. Long Kuan didn't really understand. In his era, the false god family hadn't risen yet. He couldn't fully understand the impact of Lin Chen's actions. Since I can't take action for now. All right, my orange treasure chest. Lin Shun came back to his senses. He slapped his thigh and opened the system. Among the many screens, the most dazzling orange screen caused Lin Chen's jaw to drop in shock. Host has obtained an orange treasure chest. Opening the treasure chest to obtain a quasi-orange rank talent fragment. Absolute life and death, 1/3. Chapter 590. After reading the introduction, Lin Chen's heart couldn't calm down for a long time. It was too crazy. Compared to the previous talents, the price was on a completely different level. It required one to gamble with one's life. Once activated, it would decide the winner and the loser. If the Godslayer talent was the strongest talent for group battles, then this absolute life and death talent might be the strongest for solo battles. Burning all of one's strength in battle and deciding life and death in one battle. What a crazy talent. As long as enough talents are collected, this talent can be used forever. Lin Chen's heart trembled. This would be the strongest talent other than the Godslayer talent. Suddenly, Lin Shun thought of a possibility and immediately asked the system. System, if I use both the Godslayer talent and absolute life and death talent at the same time, can the 2 talents be stacked? Answer to the host, yes. However, the increase in strength is based on the addition of the basic values and not multiplication. For example, when the host's combat strength is 550 and activating both the absolute life and death talent at the same time, the Godslayer talent will increase by 1,000 times while the absolute life and death will increase by 500 times. The result will be 550 by 1,500, instead of 550 by 1,000 by 500. Lin Chin understood that the increase in strength was only addition and not multiplication. There's still 2 fragments left. This strongest solo battle talent will belong to me. Lin Chin was excited. Even if this talent was crazy, he still welcomed it. If he really had to use the absolute life and death talent, it meant that he was already in a desperate situation. With his talent in hand, at least he still had a chance to fight. Glancing at his own attributes, he still had one. 28 million rune energy in one. 23 million talent points. Previously, when the 6th level combat emperor fell, Lin Shun had contributed a lot of attribute points. System, decompose all the treasures in the storage ring. Lin Shun threw out 20 storage rings. These were the spoils of war that he had obtained when he fought his way from the Firmament Tower to the extreme East region. Consumed 75600 Heaven's Path points. Decomposing target's storage ring. Decomposing 7th grade ores, 7th grade mid-grade damaged weapons, 7th grade low-grade treasured weapons, 3 types of purple grade mental cultivation methods, 28 types of purple grade cultivation methods. Obtained from decomposition, 280 points of wind energy, 11,500 points of blood energy, 15,080 points of battle aura essence, 12,300 points of cultivation technique essence, 360 points of fire energy, 245 points of light energy, 6,840 points of heaven's path, 8,900 points of rune energy, 9,800 points of talent points, Another pile of attribute values entered his body, and Lin Chen's attributes increased once more. The increase in his elemental attribute values also increased the power of his heavenly tribulation body and the 9 tribulation star. Compared to the time when he fought Long Qi, Lin Chen's 9 tribulation stars was far more powerful than before. Lin Chen had already taken away the grade 7 herbs, and the grade 7 low-grade ores and grade 7 low-grade weapons were no longer of much use to Lin Chen. Even if he added them into the fusion function, the effect would be minimal and the decomposition function would be more practical. A bright light flashed in between Lin Chen's brows. When he opened his eyes, the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. My 4th phantom doppelganger has been removed. It seems like Junhao has safely arrived in the Tianzhou. The return of the 4th doppelganger gave Lin Chen more confidence to challenge the world-suppressing Saint Steel 47. The increase in strength that a doppelganger could bring was far more than ordinary methods. Activating the golden pupil's twin, Lin Chen looked around. At this moment, there were almost no high-grade combat emperors left in the Han family's territory. And the Han family's elders who were guarding the world-suppressing Saint Steel were only 3 4th-level combat emperors. Normally, no one would dare to act presumptuously in the Han family's territory. Therefore, the experts guarding the world-suppressing Saint Steel weren't the strongest. It's time, Brother Cohen. Let's capture him. Let's do it. Late at night, the moon was bright. In the southernmost region of the Han family's territory, at the center of the desolate Dragon Mountain Range, there were 2 valleys that were shaped like a crescent moon. The world-suppressing Saint Steel contained the power of the previous saint. That fake god didn't dare to build his base camp too close to the world-suppressing Saint Steel. If the world-suppressing Saint Steel sensed his aura, it would probably unleash its last bit of power to expel the Han family. 2 obscure auras flashed past, causing the space to ripple slightly. On the peak of a mountain outside of the 2 valleys, a pavilion was built. On top of the pavilion, 2 figures suddenly opened their eyes. Strange, it seems like there's an aura of a high-grade beast approaching. We have already wiped out all the high-grade beasts nearby. Why would there be another one that dares to come near? The 2 figures flashed and appeared under the moonlight. They glanced around and saw an azure dragon that was moving at an extremely fast speed. Their expressions changed slightly. A 10,000-year profound azure dragon with purple phoenix wings? What the F***CK is this? While the 2 were still in shock, a grayish-white talisman was shot out. The talisman exploded beside them, catching them off guard. Slow talisman. Chi. While the 2's battle chi was circulating and the surrounding space was being slowed down, Long Kuen's body suddenly expanded to a size of 3,000 meters. He then used the Azure Dragon Tail Strike, which contained the strength of a star explosion meteor. Bang! With its pure strength of 599 million dragon power points, the 2 late-stage 4th-level combat emperors were severely injured and vomited blood. Extreme Palace Aqualight. A snowflake sword light flashed past and beheaded the 2 combat emperors. 2 combat emperors fell. Almost 100 attribute light balls burst out. Enemy attack. When a few screams were heard, Lin Chen waved the white frost-green rainbow, sword in his hand. A sword chi cut through the void and formed a space barrier, isolating the sound in space. The screams were not heard. Inside the pavilion, for clones dashed out. 10 half-step emperors and 3 4th-level combat emperors were instantly killed and suppressed. Obtained 180 points of Earth elemental energy, 9,800 points of Rune energy, 8,500 talent points, 15,000 battle chi essence. Lin Chen kept the attribute light balls of the 3 fallen combat emperors. He exchanged glances with Long Kuen and rushed to the 2 half-moon mountain valleys. From the outside, there was nothing special about the gorge. However, only those who were at the combat emperor realm and above could sense that there was a mysterious energy hidden deep inside the gorge, and no attacks could hurt it at all. This is the sacred tablet of Imperial God, Mysterious Dragon, number 47. Lin Chen's pupils shrank as he jumped into the mountain valleys. Chapter 591. Lin Chen stepped into the center of the gorge and saw a stone platform standing on the surface of a lake in the center. He walked to the front of the stone platform and saw a strange pattern on it, a dragon and a saber. If one were to look at it normally, one would be unable to discern any secrets at all. Even Lin Chen's golden-eyes twin was only able to see a trace of extremely obscure karmic luck patterns. It was unrealistic to say that one would be able to deduce the secrets of this item based on this. With the blood essence as the guide, draw the pattern of the dragon and carve the seal of the saber. A message flashed in his mind. This was the memory of when he received the inheritance. Lin Chen cut his fingertip and drew on the surface of the stone platform. He used his blood to carve the pattern, recalling the scene of the strange pattern he received when he received the demonic emperor's inheritance. When the dragon and saber were successfully carved, the stone platform began to shake, stirring up layers of waves on the surface of the lake. The stone platform glowed with a purple light, and an obscure voice entered his mind. No, sacred boundary, prison bloodline can enter. Boom, boom, boom. When the ground shook, an aura with the stone platform as the center swept up violently, directly flipping the giant Long Kuan over. What's going on, Brother Long Kuan? It seems that only the person who opened the stone platform can enter. I'll have to trouble you to guard the outside world this time. If there's any fatal danger, you can leave first. Don't worry about me. Lin Chen suddenly transmitted his voice, and Long Kuan cursed. Damn it, I came here specially to see the inheritance of the ancient human saints, and you won't let me in? F*CK. You human saints are so troublesome. Long Kuan cursed, and then coiled his dragon body to guard the outside world. An obscure voice sounded in Lin Chen's mind. Purple light for the people of the 9 states. Blue light for the descendants of the sacred prison. Human descendants can pass. When a few spiritual remnants entered his mind, Lin Chen turned to look at the swaying gorge. He narrowed his eyes, shook his head, and exclaimed, "How magical! The land of inheritance can only be opened by verifying one's bloodline. It seems that if the descendants of the fake gods were to open it, they might be obliterated by the sacred monument. Even if the fallen saints and ancestors died, they did not intend to give the fake gods a chance to fish in troubled waters." Whoosh! Lin Chen's figure turned into a stream of light and disappeared. What he didn't notice before he left was that before the stone platform sank to the bottom of the lake, the wisp of purple light began to emit an extremely faint orange light. The orange light grew brighter and brighter, completely overshadowing the purple light. Lin Chen circulated the wood spirit essence technique to heal his injuries while suppressing the surging qi and blood in his body. He was shocked. It's indeed a sacred beast. It's only warning me. Otherwise, it could kill me with a casual strike. Lin Chen stood in the same place. He didn't retreat, nor did he move forward. He fell into deep thought. Sacred beasts were extremely intelligent. It was unlikely that they didn't know about the bloodline tests set by their master. If they didn't come with good intentions, they wouldn't have entered this boundary-suppressing sacred steel. However, since he had entered, it proved that he met the requirements of the sacred steel's original master. Then, why did it warn him? Those who disturb the Lord's slumber die. Could it be? A flash of understanding appeared in his mind. He had already entered the boundary-suppressing sacred steel area. Wasn't that disturbing? Moreover, as a sacred beast, it was impossible that it didn't know that a human had entered its master's resting place. Why would it let him leave? Wouldn't it be allowing the news to leak out? In just 2 breaths, Lin Chen had already figured it out. He decisively took a step forward. Lin Chen, a human from the spiritual state, is here to receive the inheritance of boundary-suppressing sacred steel number 47. Senior, Please enlighten me. Stepping forward, Lin Shun cupped his fists. His expression was highly vigilant. He was ready to summon the Dragon Emperor and activate the super-dimensional teleportation as soon as possible. Rumble. The sacred beast stood up. It was a body that was as majestic as the relic of an ancient dragon. The naked, I couldn't see the end of it. Very good, human. You have passed my second test. When the sacred beast let out a low roar without killing intent, Lin Shun was completely relieved, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. Damn it, this was simply playing with his heartbeat. If this was really an iron-headed doll that insisted on blocking outsiders, he wouldn't be able to withstand one move from it. It was also unknown if he could use the super-dimensional teleportation to escape. The inheritor of the Lord must have a fighting spirit that defies the heavens. Otherwise, you are a piece of trash. If you turn around and leave, I will immediately blast you into pieces. The sacred beast looked at Lin Shun with a hint of mockery and then added, You are not bad. Chapter 592. Lin Shun smirked and asked, What's the next test? It said that it was only the second test. Did that mean there were more? Fight with me. I'm the heavenly winged dragon, in charge of the water punishment Tao. If you can defeat me, you'll pass the test. The heavenly winged dragon looked down at Lin Shun and said in a low voice. Lin Shun frowned. I believe that I dare to fight and risk my life. I dare to drag the emperor down from his horse. You're a Class 8 sacred beast. What am I going to use to fight with you? His golden-eyed twin could detect that the heavenly winged dragon already had some death aura and was not far from death. However, that did not mean that he could fight against a sacred beast. That would be courting death. If that was the case, he would rather not have this inheritance. Ha! You're still a little smart. If you really think you're an inheritor and charge at me, I'll kill you with one claw. The heavenly winged dragon laughed. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. This Class 8 sacred beast really set up traps everywhere. Any carelessness, and it would be death. I'll suppress myself to mid-Class 7. You only have 200 rounds to defeat me. After 200 rounds, if you don't win, I'll recover my original strength and destroy you. Hearing this, Lin Chen smiled. The 5-colored dragon aura flashed, and the 5 dragons' imperial spear appeared in his hand. Lin Chen jumped into the air and landed in the arena. He raised his spear and pointed it at the heavenly winged dragon. Bring it on. Boom. A shockwave exploded. The heavenly winged dragon's body kept shrinking to 20,000 feet, and its strength was suppressed to mid-Class 7. However, its aura was still terrifying. It was stronger than any Class 7 dire beast that Lin Shun had ever seen. Even Long Kun, a primordial azure dragon with a purple phoenix black azure dragon bloodline, might not be its match. Ultimate Moment 6 stage was fully activated, and his cultivation temporarily stepped into early Class 3. Lin Shen's body was covered in a dark green glow, and he used Fighting Emperor, 9th style, Water Splitter. The 2 great attacking runes were fully activated, and the tip of the spear slashed out diagonally, severing the earth vein in less than a breath's time. Your attack is not bad, but trying to use a water-type attack in front of me is like trying to display your sleight skill before an expert. Winged Dragon Tianyu let out a long roar as the 4 dragon wings on its back spread out. A dragon breath water barrier spread out. When Lin Shen's water rupture came into contact with a water barrier, it actually rebounded in a bizarre manner and shot back at Lin Shen. The spear light was surrounded by the water dragon's breath. Not only was this water-severing spear reflected, but its power was also increased. Dragon's aura break. The battle spear danced and smashed down angrily. A streak of golden gung qi soared into the sky and turned into a golden dragon, forcibly tearing apart the rebounding water fissure. Bang! Clang! 2 explosions rang out. Lin Shun and Rain Dragon Tianyu retreated 1,000 meters at the same time. Both of them could see the shock in each other's eyes. Lin Shan was shocked that his opponent could reflect the power of his battle technique without any reservation. Furthermore, it was strengthened by his own strength. On the other hand, Winged Dragon Tianyu was puzzled. Lin Shan's attack seemed to have penetrated its dragon breath water barrier. When it came to controlling water-type energy, it was the ancestor of water manipulation. There were not many beasts that could match up to Winged Dragon Tianyu. This human brat's attack actually pushed it back. Interesting again, a dragon and a human unleashed their battle intent. They rushed up angrily and went all out. Move after move of 100-spear fighting emperor was executed. Lin Shan attacked fiercely from the front while using the Heaven Ascension realm's mental strength to disturb his opponent. Winged Dragon Tianyu waved its dragon claws and spat out its dragon breath. Even though Lin Shan had been fighting fiercely from the Firmament Pagoda until now, and his mental strength had reached the Heaven Ascension realm, he was still at a disadvantage throughout the battle. However, at least Lin Shan was sure of one thing. He had the qualifications to fight a 6th-level combat emperor head-on. Long Qi, the Scarlet Empress, and the 6th-level combat emperor elder of the Han family. Many desperate battles had allowed him to grow by leaps and bounds. In the 30th round, Lin Shan had already figured out its strength. It was comparable to a 7th-level, high-level, ferocious beast. A 7th-level, mid-level, high-level, ferocious beast's pure strength of 4 million dragon power points. Its actual combat strength had surpassed an ordinary 6th-level combat emperor. Lin Shan's Evergreen Dragon Emperor also had a pure strength of 4 million dragon power points. At most, it could only fight against an early 5th-level combat emperor, and the chances of winning were small. However, this Winged Dragon Tianyu's combat strength had surpassed 2 great realms. It was many times more terrifying than Lin Shan's Dragon Emperor. The Combat Emperor realm was not the same as the Yuan Venerate realm. Without extremely powerful techniques, it was extremely difficult to fight against someone who was 1 great realm higher, let alone someone who was 2 great realms higher. Moreover, the further one advanced in the Combat Emperor realm, the more terrifying the gap between the realms was. Only a mutated ferocious beast like Long Kuan, who had the 2 strongest bloodlines of the Purple Phoenix and the profound Azure Dragon, could challenge an ordinary 7th-level high-level ferocious beast from the peak of the 7th-level high-level. The gap between the realms was as wide as the Milky Way. Lin Shan relied on the speed of his Purple Phoenix wings to barely stabilize the battle. However, this battle was different from the past. He could not fight a battle of attrition. He only had 200 rounds. When it was close to the 50th round, Lin Shan released the Dragon Emperor. When an evergreen dragon with the bloodline of the true flame Purple Phoenix appeared, even the Winged Dragon Tianyu, who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years, was shocked. Mixed bloodline? No, the 2 bloodlines are very pure and complete, but they can coexist perfectly without mixing. This is impossible. Dragon Emperor fight. With the Azura Soul rending technique, Lin Shan's battle spear slashed furiously, twisting out a 10,000 zhong long spear light like a broken moon. The Dragon Emperor released the profound Azure Dragon domain to delay the Winged Dragon Tianyu's movements as much as possible. He used the frightening dragon roaming technique to get close to the Winged Dragon Tianyu's back and slash down with his claws. The evergreen mystic light blade, mixed with blazing purple flames, slashed down. Perfect coordination, but still not enough. Bring out more trump cards. The Winged Dragon Tianyu laughed loudly. As his 4 wings flapped, his dragon body twisted. With his dragon body as the center, tens of thousands of dragon breath water lights flew out like snowflakes. The snowflakes and water lights crushed Lin Shan's Azura Soul rending technique into pieces. The purple mystic light blade was also torn apart. The Dragon Emperor flew backwards, his dragon scales broken. God's stealing omen. With a flash of his body, Lin Shan, who was extremely fast, found a gap and approached the Sky Imperial Winged Dragon. He punched its abdomen, and, at the same time, he used his Stealing Omen talent. God's Stealing Omen has been successfully used. Host receives 70,000 points of intermediate water attribute. Blue rank talent fragment. Fatal Bloodthirst, 3/3. Automatically stored in the talent column. 70,000 points of intermediate water attribute. As Lin Chun flew backwards, he sucked in a breath of cold air. His mouth almost fell open in shock. Even when he was cleansed by the Azura's origin in the Azura Palace of 100 Emperors, he only gained around 10,000 points of intermediate water attribute. Yet, he managed to steal 70,000 points from the winged dragon Tianyu. Even if it was only one attribute, it was still extremely powerful. Now, Lin Chen's water attribute had surpassed 90,000 points and was approaching 100,000 points. Among the 9 Calamity battle bodies, the Water Calamity battle body would become Lin Chen's strongest battle body. Chapter 593. However, Lin Chun didn't dare to use the Water Calamity battle physique. His opponent was the legendary Water Winged Dragon. Using the water combat technique in front of it was like showing off in front of Master. What's wrong? Is this all you've got? Winged Dragon Tianyu laughed wildly and waved its claws several times, forcing Lin Chun to retreat again and again. Although he looked nonchalant, Yinglong Tengu's mind was also in turmoil. This young human from the spiritual state had more and more trump cards than the last. Whether it was the Dragon Emperor, who was of the same origin as him, or the penetrative attack, they were all unheard of in the ancient times. Along the way, Lin Chun maintained the ultimate moment, bitterly persevering. During the 98th round, Azure Dragon and Lin Chun both retreated with injuries. Winged Dragon Tianyu praised in his heart. He managed to last nearly 100 rounds against me with his second-level combat emperor cultivation. This kid's intelligence, talent, and combat strength are all impeccable. He is qualified to be the inheritor of the master. Winged Dragon Tianyu didn't think that Lin Chun could defeat him from the beginning. His bottom line was that Lin Chun could last more than 100 rounds, which was already the best result. After all, he was a saint beast. Even if he suppressed his strength by 90%, his combat strength was still much higher than a normal level 7 dire beast. Not to mention, his cultivation was still higher than Lin Chen's even after he suppressed his strength. He was very satisfied with the result of being able to last more than 100 rounds. Just as Winged Dragon Tianyu was about to end the test, the injured Lin Chun suddenly smiled. Winged Dragon Tianyu, I have figured out your strength. Now it's my turn. Lin Chen's shoulders shook. Rumble. 4 godly lights exploded and descended from the sky. 4 silhouettes in silver robes stepped out. Their bodies were shrouded in green, and they looked like gods descending to the mortal world. What? Winged Dragon Tianyu exclaimed in shock. Cloning technique? For clones that were comparable to the real body. Take this. Blazing Green Moon Slash. Night Judgment. 8 Desolate Finger. Fighting Emperor 80-second Style. Azura Battlefield. Dark Shadow Thunder. 10,000-year Profound Light Blade. The sword light was curved like the moon, and the green rainbow was like a twisting tornado. It spun rapidly in a circle and slashed out. The pitch-black saber mark that was tens of thousands of feet long slashed down vertically with enough power to split the heavens. An 8-colored finger of primordial energy fell from the sky. Lightning flashed across the sky as the dark shadow arrow chi shot towards the heavenly imperial winged dragon. 2 streaks of fiery light pierced through the sky like an azura, piercing through the heavens and piercing towards the dragon's head. In just half a breath's time, Lin Chun went all out in an instant. His attacks were several times stronger than before, especially Lin Chen's 82 move, Azura Field Battle. Its might had already surpassed the might of a high-grade purple rank battle skill. It was nearly 10 times stronger than Lin Chen's sword and saber techniques. In addition to the ultimate moment, charge, penetration rune, and the foundation of a 9 tribulations battle body. The Azura Field Battles attack was comparable to that of a 6th-level combat emperor. The earth-shattering attack arrived in front of the heavenly imperial winged dragon. With a dragon roar, streams of dragon's breath soared into the sky, forming layers of spiritual shields to protect itself. The dragon opened its mouth, and a pillar of azure holy light shot out from the center of the spiritual shield, colliding with the 2 streaks of fiery light. Chi! Bang! The energy that tore the heavens and earth apart soared into the sky, shaking half of the Saint Monument space. His doppelganger, Azure Dragon, and Lin Shun retreated quickly with vigilance. Even though his attributes had skyrocketed a few times, he wasn't sure if his combined attack could shake the heavenly imperial winged dragon, who was comparable to a 6th-level combat emperor. If it didn't work, then he could only use the slowing rune and 9 tribulation star, his 2 trump cards. The smoke dissipated, and only faint ripples appeared in the space. The Saint Monument space was once strengthened by a Sage Realm expert, so it was many times stronger than the outside world. Only a Sage Realm expert could tear apart the space crystal walls here. Ha, wonderful, wonderful. Heaven Ascension Realm Mental Strength, 2nd-level combat emperor, a high-grade secret technique that can allow one to break through a realm, body refinement emperor, and a top-notch spear technique with Azura's murderous aura has been cultivated to perfection. The dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth, causing Lin Chen's ears to hurt. The aura of a saint beast was once again released from its body. I didn't expect you to have such a powerful doppelganger technique, and you hit it so well. You actually managed to defeat me after I suppressed my cultivation. Impeccable. Lin Shun of the Spirit State, you have the qualifications to obtain the inheritance of the Lord. It was completely unexpected. Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon didn't think that Lin Shun could defeat it from the beginning. It just wanted to find a reason to force out Lin Chen's potential. It didn't expect that Lin Shun could really defeat it. Even a 6th-level combat emperor might not be able to escape unscathed from the joint attack of the main body and doppelganger. Kid, let me ask you, where did you learn your spear technique? What is your relationship with the Azura clan? Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon asked curiously. Little did he know that the last trace of life in his body was slowly fading away. Lin Shun briefly explained his encounter in the 100 Emperor's Palace of the Azura clan. Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon sighed and shook its head. I didn't expect you to have such a fortuitous encounter. The Azura clan actually passed down their inherited combat technique to you. The sun must have risen from the west today. Those battle maniacs have never been convinced by any other clan in this world. Kid, you must cultivate this Azura clan's secret technique well. Its power is not inferior to the Lord's main cultivation technique when he was alive. Even Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon was very confident about Lin Chen's 100 Spears Battle Emperor, which showed how powerful it was. The first 70 moves of this spear technique were equivalent to a low-grade purple rank combat technique. After the 70 moves, each move would be stronger than the previous one. The last 20 moves were even more shocking. Lin Shun didn't even have the qualifications to use the last 91 to 100 moves. The minimum requirement was to reach the 5th-level combat emperor. Since the Lord has obtained this kid's inheritance, he must be happy in the underworld. I can also leave in peace. Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon muttered to himself and let out a long sigh. Cracks started to appear on his dragon body. Lin Shun was shocked. Senior, what are you doing? Haha, my injuries have long since reached a fatal level. If not for the fact that I still have a single breath of life left behind by the Lord, and the fact that I still have to rely on the water-type energy treasure left behind by the Lord to prolong my life until today, as well as the fact that I have to consume a small amount of vital energy and vicious beast cores to maintain the Saint Tablet space, I would have long been incomplete. Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon grinned, revealing his sharp dragon teeth. There was a trace of relief in his smile. His mission had come to an end. Kid, I will leave the rest to you. Don't disappoint the Lord's will. Don't let down the efforts of the saints and sages of the 9 prefectures. You are one of the few hopes of the 9 prefectures. You must eliminate all those bastards from the sacred boundaries' holy prison. Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon's dragon body was falling apart. Lin Shen stretched out his hand and clenched his fist. I promise. I will eliminate all those **T fake gods from the sacred boundary. Ha ha ha. What a **T fake god. I like it. Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon's dragon body disappeared. In his final laughter, he turned into countless rays of light and disappeared without a trace. Boom! Boom! The moment Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon disappeared, 2 light pillars bloomed from the space it was in. One was azure blue and the other was orange-yellow. Other than that, there were also blood-red attribute light balls floating in the air and scattered all over the ground. They were the energy of blood and chi. A fist-sized azure attribute light ball floated in front of Lin Shen, emitting the strongest dragon aura. Lin Shen sucked in a breath of cold air. It was a bloodline attribute light ball. Chapter 594. There was also an orange-yellow light pillar. Within the light pillar, there was a treasure chest filled with orange-colored crystals. The treasure chest was emitting a dazzling light. Orange crystal treasure chest. Lin Shen had obtained the 3rd orange crystal treasure chest. Lin Shen grabbed the orange crystal treasure chest, and the system screen popped up. Host opened orange crystal treasure chest. Receive quasi-orange grade talent fragment. Absolute life and death, 2/3. The second absolute life and death talent fragment. Lin Shen waved his fists excitedly. The wind from his fists stirred up a howling wind. Only one left. If I get another talent fragment, the strongest one-on-one talent will belong to me, Lin Shen. Lin Shen forced himself to calm down. Then, he turned to look at the azure attribute light ball. Inside the attribute light ball, there was a winged dragon shadow dancing around. When Lin Shen reached out to pick it up, his palm was trembling. Host has received 200,000 Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon Bloodline Attribute Points. Host already has 3 special Bloodline Attribute Points. The current version can only have a maximum of 4 Bloodline Attributes. Do you want to absorb it? Winged Dragon Bloodline? It was true. Winged dragons were water-type dragons. They were born to be the kings of water beasts. They could move clouds, summon rain, and overturn rivers and seas with just a thought. The Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon was the king of winged dragons. At its peak, it could become an 8th-stage sacred beast. Its talent was above most dragons. Confirm absorption. Bloodline attribute points were hard to come by, let alone the winged dragon bloodline. Lin Shen decisively chose to absorb and refine it. Rumble. The azure attribute light ball merged with Lin Shen's body. A huge amount of bloodline genetic energy surged into Lin Shen's body. Finally, it flowed into his battle aura and fate wheel. The origin of the green dragon bloodline started to throb again. Chi. The green dragon's injuries started to heal at an amazing speed. Then, silver dragon wings grew out from its back. Below the purple phoenix wings, the 4 wings spread out. It was domineering. The edges of its green dragon eyes were swirling with purple light. Within the purple light, there was a hint of azure blue. Apart from that, the azure dragon's carp tail trembled and began to shed its scales. In the end, it turned into an azure dragon tail that was as sharp as a sword. Winged dragon divine ability, Heavenly Imperial Ocean. If one is in an area rich in water-type energy, one can control the water-type energy in battle. His speed, strength, and vitality had all been greatly increased. It is extremely sensitive to water energy and can neutralize many water attacks. Azure Dragon Sword condenses the dragon's breath and dragon strength, turning the dragon's tail into an extremely powerful sword. The sword cleaves the heavens and earth and divides the 10,000 seas. The memories of the two dragon races' divine abilities were engraved into Lin Chen's memories. His dragon emperor had transformed again. He had mastered a brand new divine ability. The Azure Dragon and Lin Chen were of the same origin. Lin Chen only needed a thought to activate the Azure Dragon's possession. Therefore, he could also use these divine abilities. In the future, if he encountered a powerful water attribute attack, he could easily resolve it. Even after such a long time, it can still drop so many vitality energy attribute light balls. Holy beasts are really powerful, Lin Chen exclaimed. He deactivated the 6 transformations and kept collecting large amounts of vitality energy attribute light balls with his 4 main clones. Host has received 48,000 vitality energy points, 54,000 vitality energy points, 49,999 vitality energy points, 50,000 vitality energy points. His vitality energy attribute points soared all the way and couldn't be stopped at all. Lin Chen alone couldn't bear all this vitality energy, so he urged the Azure Dragon to share half of it. The man and dragon's vitality energy soared. The dragon meridians in the Azure Dragon's body opened up from 400,000 to 500,000. This time, Lin Chen received a total of 5 million points of mid-level vitality attribute points. The man and dragon each absorbed half of it, and it took them 2 days and 2 nights to completely refine it. The Azure Dragon opened up 55 dragon meridians. Pure strength increased to 5 million dragon power points. In addition to 3 types of bloodline powers, the current Azure Dragon was much stronger than Long Kuan. Lin Chen's pure strength of 1 million dragon power points stopped at 99 million dragon power points after the strength of God enhancement. System, I want to enhance the strength of God enhancement to 75%. System received. Consume 250,000 talent points to enhance the blue talent strength of God enhancement to 75%. Roar. A roar similar to a dragon's roar came from Lin Chen's body. He had finally reached the 4 million dragon power points and stopped at 1 million. The higher the level of dragon power in the body refining domain, the more terrifying the destructive power was. The 75% enhancement came from the power of the basic dragon power, and it wasn't just an enhancement in numbers. This principle was similar to how tens of millions of mid-level battle aura essence could allow Lin Chen, a second-level combat emperor, to break through a major realm, but it couldn't allow Lin Chen to advance from the 3rd level to the 4th level. At this time, Lin Chen suddenly fell into deep thought. Although winged dragon Tianyu had suppressed his cultivation and was nearing the end of his life, his holy beast form still hadn't changed. This could be seen from the fact that Lin Chen didn't hurt him at all after defeating him. As for holy beasts, Lin Chen had successfully used the Stealing Omen and Stolen Attribute points. This proved that the Stealing Omen was useful for holy beasts like Winged Dragon Tianyu. This reminded Lin Chen of the second time he used the God Slayer, when he defeated Long Qi's clone and encountered a mysterious person. Lin Chen had once used the Stealing Omen on her, but it failed because her cultivation was too high. A terrifying thought emerged in Lin Chen's heart. Could it be that she isn't a holy beast? Damn it, what if she appears one day and wants to take me away by force? Wouldn't I have no chance to resist? Lin Chen didn't dare to continue thinking, but he knew that he might have been targeted by an extremely powerful existence. At the very least, it was an existence on the same level as those fake gods. Strength. I'm still too weak. If I had the cultivation of a holy beast, I might be able to resist. Lin Chen urgently shouted in his heart. The current him was still too weak. After calming himself down, Lin Chen continued to step into the depths of the bestial battle arena. There was a 4-sided stone tablet standing between heaven and earth. There were dragons and snakes dancing on the stone tablet. It was vivid and lifelike, carrying the civilization and prosperity of ancient times. Young man, you're finally here. Near the world-suppressing sacred tablet, a calm voice leisurely reverberated. An illusory figure stood in front of the world-suppressing sacred tablet. He was dressed in a long robe and had an elegant temperament. His hands were behind his back, and a scabbard hung from his waist. There was no blade in the scabbard, but its sharpness was restrained. There was an imposing aura that could shatter the heavens if it was unsheathed. He turned around and stared at Lin Shen. His long hair was draped over his shoulders, and he was handsome and confident. His eyebrows were like blades, and under his gentle and elegant smile, there was a shocking sharpness in his eyes. Lin Shen only glanced at him and immediately felt a stabbing pain in his eyes. If he used the purple gold pupil to investigate, his eyes might be injured by the hidden sharpness. I was originally a wisp of spiritual remnant, and I wouldn't wake up until the last moment. But a few days ago, I felt the aura of the holy beast in the sacred boundary prison, so I woke up. I didn't expect to be able to witness the moment when the younger generation of the 9 states faced the criminals of the sacred prison. The illusory figure smiled and gave Lin Shen a thumbs up. Little fellow Lin Shen, well done. No, I'm just a little more handsome than senior. Lin Shen smiled modestly. He could feel that this sage who had passed away really appreciated him. Ha ha ha. Indeed, no one is more suitable than you to inherit my mantle. The illusory figure laughed heartily. This kid was very much to his liking. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.